And we're live. Welcome everybody to the Screaming at Walls podcast. I'm Nigel. Above me is Matt, and down below me, nice, is Jakaya.
You're
Um,
retarded! Oh no, I already lost. There it is.
God damn it. Well, I guess we can cuss now because it's definitely not monetized.
Oh
It's not that we
no.
had the opportunity to be monetized in the first place, anyway. But
Thank God.
welcome everybody to this show today. I hope everybody's having a great night, a great weekend, and I think we're coming into Memorial Day weekend, aren't we? Is that what's coming up soon?
Yeah, I
I have
think
no
so.
idea. Should I
Pretty sure
Google
it's
this?
Memorial Day weekend because I know at work they were like, "Hey, everybody, be ready for Monday," and I was like, "What the fuck is happening
Yep,
Monday?"
Memorial Day
Like,
the
hold on a minute.
31st.
We have to
Yeah,
get
so
it
not
done.
this Monday, but next Monday.
Yep.
Not to date this video too much. Um, so today we're gonna be going over a video on Kevin Samuels, RIP. He actually died like a month ago, not too long ago. And I thought it'd be good. I found his content super duper interesting. Did either of you get a chance to look up him at all or know anything about him?
Only what we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about the same. I don't know much.
To pay the proper respect, he died on the 5th.
Yeah, the 5th of
Of
this
this
month?
year?
Yep.
Oh,
May
jeez,
5th.
of
Yeah.
this year. This month.
Yeah, I know the
Like,
circumstances around like how he died generally, but I didn't know like exactly. I knew it was pretty recent. Um he was a super interesting guy. He was like a style and dating coach. I think he grew up in Atlanta and then moved to Miami at some point in time. But he ran a show where women would call in. He would do like private sessions with them and stuff like that as well. But where he talked about these to women about like their issues and why they weren't able to get men that they wanted and all sorts of stuff like that. And he blew up a little bit because a woman called in on a section of a show where he didn't do dating advice and then like started kind of badgering for it, and he just kind of tore into her. It's like, you don't understand, like, you're rude, you want all these expectations out of men, you have all these things going on, and you have no idea, like, you're gonna die alone unless you like lower your expectations for what you're hoping to get out of some guy. I'm sure you've seen like tons of guys come through your life that you could have married and you could have had a happy life with, but you rejected them because you're totally looking for some insane standard that only like 1% of human beings on the planet happen to come through. You're a six at best, all sorts of stuff like that. And so feminists blew up after that happened because they were like, how dare he talk to these women this way? Um, but most people were kind of like, yeah, you might be kind of rude, but like, where's the lie? And I found his content super interesting, simply because he really highlighted with these women like some really crazy expectations they had for men in their life long term that I think to most people, and they seem completely oblivious that like the things they were asking for is like there's almost no human beings on the planet that can satisfy this. And it was super consistent what these women would talk about. And I thought it'd be interesting to bring up, listen to what he's saying, because I think this conversation he has with this woman is really good because she's actually pretty reciprocative. Yeah, she's pretty understanding of the criticism he gives her. And it seems really eye-opening to me about having like a good discussion about, what kind of expectations have on women and what kind of expectations women have on men, and how they may interact, going forward. Um, so I guess to kind of kick it off before we really start watching the video, um, are there any crazy expectations you've heard in your life that women or men have put on the opposite sex, and that you're just like, this seems really consistent, but I don't see how anyone can expect this ever.
I mean, I think the most consistent one is that people just like they're always punching above their weight class without willing to put in the effort to be part of that same weight class, right? And what I mean by that is like I have a friend who is like a heavy set gentleman. He's not unattractive, but like He doesn't take the most physical care of himself. Probably like me, you know what I mean? Like, I don't consider myself hyper unhealthy. I lost a little bit of weight recently, whatever, but I'm still overweight. I'm pretty average looking, whatever.
Well, hold
Um,
on. I'm gonna pause you there. You didn't just lose a little bit of weight. You lost like 100 pounds.
sure, sure, sure.
That's a pretty big
Sure, sure.
accomplishment,
100
actually.
out of
Uh,
400.
Honest, what the
100 out of
man had.
400 is only a fourth of my body weight. So,
that's a quarter.
Only a
What
four.
are you talking about?
so anyway,
Again, really being
I have
modest.
further to go. I guess that's why I'm not as excited about it. I still want to lose 50 more. Like, I
the
know we've
bar
talked
is
about that.
still set, right?
But anyway, so like a pretty average level of attractiveness, right? And like the type of
Sure.
women that he is attracted to and like is interested in are these fucking women that are like 9s and 10s. And so like he doesn't really date a lot because he expects like his expectation or his type or whatever are these women. Like why are you punching so high if you're not willing to like go work out, go be more healthy, go
Yeah.
whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and Nigel, I know you and I talked about this, but one of my favorite lines from a D&D podcast I listen to, they do like a high school D&D adventure where like this nerdy kid gets mad that this girl isn't interested in him, and she fires back, the character obviously fires back, and she's like, why would I be? She's like, why should I lower my standards when you're not willing to put in the effort to rise to my standards, right? Or to rise to my level.
Sure.
Like, we should be on the same level. If you're looking for a date with me who is someone who is hotter, more status, whatever, you should be willing to move into that status bracket, that attractiveness bracket, because very few people, and I don't want to say this like there are ways to change the way that you look in positive ways to raise your status. Sure, you may like some people are born
Absolutely.
classically less or more handsome, but you can work out, you can be healthier, you can take care of your skin, you can
Just
cut your
dress
hair
nicer.
well, dress nicer, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So like you have the ability to do those things. So like I think in general a lot of people try to punch above their weight class because they think that's what they deserve when they really just have a poor sense of self.
Sure. I would agree with that. Matt, you got anything?
Hey, about nailed it on the head. I mean, that's really the only one that comes to mind, and it's kind of the biggest one when it comes to people that are having like an expectation, right? It's usually like Chikai had said, it's punching above their weight class. It's setting,
Mm-hmm.
it's their own bar that's set well above what they're kind of willing to put out. So, and I
Sure.
think a lot of it, we'll obviously go into it more to the video, but I think a lot of it's going to come. We're going to see it's culture either in lifestyle and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially the same premise where it's this
Yeah. Do
expectation that
yeah.
if
Do
yeah,
do either you guys think that like how you have the rise of like incel culture maybe be affected by what I would say is at least when I was growing up, a lot of um, expectations put upon women to, you know, kind of consider themselves sort of like the princess mentality of like, I'm great, I'm a bad bitch, no matter what I look like, body positivity, everything along those lines like that, and that I should be accepted no matter what. And not only should I be accepted, I should be able to get these, essentially out of my league guys. Um, and then because females control almost everything when it comes to dating, right? like unless you're a guy raping someone, women kind of control everything about it, right? Like you got to go to them, they have to choose you, you got to pay for stuff, you have to maintain all the things, you have to compete with everyone else around you, all the stuff like that. Like, do you think like those really high expectations, because that's my theory, is that those high expectations that maybe a lot of these women have really led to the kind of creation of this incel community that exists of like these essentially like basement dwelling dudes who have had so little success in the dating market that they've just completely opted out.
I think I partially agree and partially like I don't think that's all of it, right? Because I think that happens to like to some degree it happens to like men too. Like I was talking about like men have certain standards that they're not willing to reach themselves that they expect of women.
Sure.
But the problem to me comes in like um when you're being I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like
That means I nailed a good question.
right, so I think that that's a problem, right? Like I think that women have that problem where like because women are we're in a time in our life where women are lauded for body positivity, be who you want to be, look how you want to look, whatever, like that's our future goal, which is a good goal, whatever, like that's fine. But I feel like men do not receive the same treatment, right? Like men are not given the same, like, hey, it's okay, be happy with you, look however you want to look, whatever. I think that some of us are lucky like that with like parents and stuff, but like I think society is much more pushing to allow women to be happy with who they are whenever they are, and they don't push the same way for men a lot of the time. And so I think that you're right in that there's a part of that that does create that, because women are given a position to be whoever they want to be and look however they want to look, and everyone accept and be happy with that, and men are not given that same I don't know, goal, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see, healthy at any size models and stuff like that in Victoria's Secret and all sorts of things like that. But if you pay attention to like clothing models for men, they're all still, Tyler Durden from fucking Fight Club. you know.
Kudos to I'm gonna get a little gay here though. Kudos to, I believe it's Rihanna's underwear line. She uses some plus size male models that are absolutely beautiful men. Just so we're on the same page. um,
You got anything to add to that?
Well, if we're talking about any correlations between incel and then where we are with women's expectations, I think there's really a lot to unpack here, because something like that really hits me on a button where it goes into when we look at. I think there's a lot of things that play into this, and it's there's the man's conduct of chivalry. It's the way that a man is raised to be and how they should treat a woman, and then that conflicts with how women were at one point raised and how they've been pushed to strive for their independence. Because I think possibly in most or maybe some homes, women are led to kind of give this level of independence. I mean, even if I was a father, I would certainly coach my daughter to be independent, to take care of herself and not be so dependent on somebody, her partner, a male. Right? Let's just say, for the
Sure.
example. And so you get this cultural divide that goes into this woman that doesn't need the man, and the man that can only feel helpless when it comes to trying to approach a woman. And if he should dare, he becomes the predator, or maybe something worse, right? And
Yeah,
so
that's
it
actually a really
it
good point.
it it coaches it, or it gears this notion that you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And as far as incel, this is something relatively new to me. Incel, um, I mean, I'm sure they've been around for quite some time, but certainly not nearly as long as men have been trying to be raised proper to treat women. And so I feel like this group is no different than any club. That one guy that
Hmm.
got really hit hard formed a club, other people related to it, and I think incel's more enabling than it is helping. It's giving people the excuse to say, this is why I can't do, therefore I only fit into this, and I will therefore do nothing because
Hmm.
this is what I am. So you
Yeah.
enable a really, really bad toxic mentality in men. It creates weaker men, right? And of course, where I'm going to drive on this notion with someone like Jordan Peterson, who's mentioned about what it means to be an aggressive male. And of
Yeah.
course, aggressive not meaning somebody who needs to be really, physically aggressive, but emotionally aggressive. And I guess maybe in some instances, physically aggressive, because you want to be,
Well,
strong, straightforward, and
yeah,
kind of
what
person. So
he talks about, because I know exactly what you're talking about. He talks about you need to be capable of being dangerous, but have control over it, because that's
right.
that's that's the
A
real
person who's not in control
strength.
of it is the most dangerous. Right, right. And
Yeah.
so when you have women that feed off of this level of independence, and so when they feel that they are in their head capable of doing A through Z, I think that increases their um I don't know if I want to say ego, but maybe 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 it does increase their ego, because say if you land the woman that's a manager at a job and she's just, I don't know, not the most attractive. And attractive is such a subjective thing, right? Let's just not even
Yeah.
go into the attractive portion of it, but let's just say that she's just another woman that's just moved to the race. She's not everyone's taste. And so there it is. It's that arrogance, that narcissism that's built her up because she's done that. Her value is not in her attractiveness, but in what her achievements are. And so that's her value. And so no man lesser can ever be
Well, and
acceptable in that realm.
traditionally, that's actually how men would show their attractiveness to women. Like, look at the achievements that I've been able to accomplish, my
Well, but
monetary
that's
gain, all sorts of
right.
things like that.
Right.
And now you have a woman who is
Women are
essentially
wanting to play
garnered
the
all
same
that, and
role.
now they're yeah,
Yeah.
and now they're kind of like, well, now we're competing against one another. Yeah.
Yeah, but is that
Anyway,
is that a
Same
is that
dynamic
a
too.
bad thing though?
Well, no, I don't think it is, but
if well, go ahead.
I
No, no, you're
think
good. Go.
there's a balance, right? I firmly believe in a balance in everything. You can't overdo it, right? I think women should be able to have this ability, this ambition to be independent and strive to succeed. I mean, it's ridiculous to say that they shouldn't, but you have to humble yourself and say that you're not perfect. You have to. It's the same reason why I say can say that you've only lost 100 pounds. Like it's not that much to anybody else hearing that conversation is ridiculous. But you've able to humble yourself to know that, but to not kid yourself, in your heart that that was a shit ton of work. But you're humbling yourself to know that we've got more to go. The bar is still there. You haven't moved your goalpost in any direction to say, you know what, I'm good here. All right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same principle that applies for some of these women that they want to get this independence, which I think is fine, but they also have to have that balance of humility to know that they aren't perfect, and so they won't. I mean, to have an outlandish
Well,
goal and
and
expectations.
generally, what I'll say is they want to have that independence, but then they want to have a guy who outcompetes them. Like, I understand what you mean when you're saying that. Like, is that necessarily a good thing if these two people are competing against one another, or is that necessarily a bad thing? But the thing is that women generally like, I want to be really independent. I want to be self sufficient. I want to have all these things going on, but I also want a man who's outdoing me in fucking everything. And it's like, well, fuck, man. Like, if you're running the track hard and you're outpacing, you know, 80% of men, well, you've cut down your life partners pretty fucking significantly all of a sudden, you
Well, and I
know?
You
think
know, one
to not hold up the video too much longer, the last thing I want to say is like just bring it like, to me it brings it back to like manage your expectations, right? Like if you're looking for a
Yeah.
top 5% male, you should be a top 5% partner for that male, right? And if you're not, or if you want a larger dating pool, then maybe you should lower your standards, right? So like, and not to say that you
Well,
have to lower
yeah.
your standards, but the point is that like you
right.
need to manage the expectations based on what you're looking for, right?
Prince Charming doesn't exist, but only in a book. But you know that the real male that's out there is like, you know what, this is a nice, yeah. But at least that's
Yeah.
how I interpret that, right? Don't
Yeah.
go chasing
Anyway,
stuff that's in books.
all of the things we've actually talked about here is like almost all of this woman's issues. And Kevin Samuels get into it pretty good. So let's go ahead and kick off the video.
Let's hit it.
Getting
What do you do for a living?
I'm an entrepreneur building a business. So starting from scratch.
it playing for you guys?
And what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finance.
Okay. So how are you going to find balance in life?
That's what I'm looking to create. Still trying to figure that out. I've never had any male figure be direct with me of what I'm doing wrong. So I honestly feel like I've just been kind of like in the sauce trying to figure it all out. And so that's why I wanted to jump on because I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong.
What outcome do you want?
I do want to get married and having children is priority for me as well.
How many children do you want?
2 children, 2 or 3.
What state do you live in?
I live in California, Los Angeles.
Why do you want to get married?
I've always had the desire. I do realize when I was younger, it was coming from, when I look back, because I've done personal development, it was coming from.
So I'm gonna pause it there for just a second. So we kind of got what she wants, right? Are you guys still able to both hear me?
Yeah, but your camera's frozen. Oh, oh, nope,
Oh boy.
lost him. Technical difficulties. There he went. Oh no, he died. Oh.
We should have like a technical difficulty screen where it's like all kinds of chaos going in the background, like somebody picking up something. With some elevator music in the background.
I'll have to design something like that.
That'd be fantastic.
I could at least get like an image that flashes or something like that, probably.
Just
Uh,
edit it and post it in the background.
Well, because like like with OBS or with Streamlabs, you can have all kinds of like layers and stuff like that, and I can like hide them or activate them. So I can literally just
Oh yeah.
activate like I can put that one on there and have it in here, and then if something like this happens, just hit the show button and have it flashing there or something like that.
Oh wow, it would hit that live.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I am not technical savvy, so that's pretty dope.
Well, the
Hey,
nice
I can
thing.
hear you guys again, but I don't think I can. I don't think. As soon as I started playing the video, I started running into issues.
Okay. We can do the unfortunately no video thing again if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we may have to. Hold on, let me try and a
And
little bit of
abandonment.
video here.
I've taken time to like heal that piece. And now I realize that I do want to build
This is
something with
running
somebody that
so-
I
so
can
rough
have a
for me.
soulmate connection
There we
and
go.
also be a power couple with. And change the trajectory of my family because we don't come from marriage.
Okay, yeah, I can watch it fine now. I'm being.
Why don't you just turn off your camera while it's playing and then just jump back in? Is that possible?
But so when my camera shuts off or shuts on,
His whole
like
Discord
here,
freaks
I'll
out.
turn it on. Discord like has a fucking fit.
I just wonder what
So
happened.
just-
We didn't have this many issues before.
I don't fucking know, right? Like, well, and it's running better now, just because like I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, like everything's updated on my fucking shit, so but I have no idea.
I
But
wouldn't.
it's okay.
Yeah,
I can be
we'll
my
get
little
it figured
Necron
out.
avatar on here. So it doesn't bother me.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let me know when we're ready to start it up again. Or are we still going?
No, the video's not going. I didn't turn off the stream. I assumed you didn't want me to.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good. That's okay. Sorry everyone. I'm having piece of shit laptop difficulties. If need be, I'll just I'll edit it out later.
All right, let's get rolling with the video again then.
Okay.
I want to show that as an example for my kids.
How long you watch my programs or anything like that?
Off and on, not too much.
Well, what do you think What do you think I'm about to say right now?
I want you to give it to me difficult, like hard, because
I'm not giving it, I'm just saying this: the myth of the power couple is something that was marketed to Black women.
Do we necessarily believe that like the quote unquote power couple is necessarily a myth?
I don't even know what the power couple myth is.
The power couple, I mean, in like the Black community, it's like Jay-Z and Beyonce, right? It's like we're gonna be this couple who are in a relationship with one another, and our business interests are totally aligned, and we are gonna do nothing but aggressively go after to try and make each other as wealthy as humanly possible.
Yep.
It's a myth.
The Google dictionary definition is a couple consisting of two people who are each influential or successful in their own right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's impossible. I think that's just a particular person you're looking for.
I think in a general sense it's possible, but I think in the like ethereal sense, I think that it's pretty hard, because when people say power couple, they're not just looking for like we're two successful working people who have a good life, right? They're looking for like we're type A, best fucking workers. We're all fit. Our relationship is perfect. We're in love. We have 5 kids or whatever, however many kids.
Yeah.
And everything is perfect. And like we are picturesque. Like listen, life doesn't work that way. Nothing is ever perfect.
It totally doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and if ma'am, you want to be the power couple fucking wife, but then have 5 kids, you're going to spend a lot of time pregnant and taking care of very small children. That's very, very difficult.
Yep.
Step one's going to be understanding that power is subjective. So
yeah.
Well, that's why I said, that's why like my argument against like talking about it more
agree.
ethereally is like
Yep.
Sure, you can have two successful people in a relationship and it work out. Like I think that simple definition of power couple is absolutely an attainable goal. But I think that the broad like idea that I think people think of when they think of power couple, I think is a relatively silly thing that only exists in like the uber wealthy, and even then, as we have seen multiple times over the course of multiple years, those power couples are not as happy as they make themselves seem.
Yeah, they're totally not.
Yeah.
i.e., excuse me for calling them out, but Jada and Will, who everybody thought were great, and look at all the stuff they've gone through, right? Like,
Yeah, Jada and Will. I mean, I can't think of the last time I heard about like, let's just say a celebrity couple, but even at the highest echelons of like the elite class of America, right? Elon Musk does not have a consistent spouse. Jeff Bezos just got
Johnny
divorced,
Depp and
right?
Amber
Like,
Heard were doing just fine.
yeah, Johnny Depp and Amber, like they were like a couple for like a
They should
year.
open
But
up
I
a
mean,
mattress business. They'd be fucking set.
what
That's
would
a
you call
power
it?
couple because she could
What
be
would
the
you
power
call? Would you call it shit
power
in the bed?
stamp. Power stamps. Johnny Depp's
But
markets the bed, and she'll stamp approve them.
fuck
And
yeah,
she can even say that they're stain resistant too.
oh no,
Oh,
please,
they better
is
be.
your baby shitting on the bed? We got you covered.
please.
Go on,
God.
honey. Show them how it works.
Anyway, that tangent aside. Yes,
But,
I think that the power couple, as far as the like ethereal definition, is pretty like unattainable and unrealistic.
yeah, I think it's a little ridiculous. And before like we were able to hear what she wanted in like a long-term relationship. She's like, I want 2 to 3 kids. Do you guys remember the other thing? My video is kind of fucking up there a little bit. At the beginning of the video when he was like, what do you want? Right?
I think it was just kids and a wedding, right? She wanted to be married, power couple, and kids. Like the white picket fence, it almost sounded like,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sounds like every girl's fantasy.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I
Cool.
mean, Jesus.
Every person shit. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I want the
Yeah.
white.
I mean, I didn't want a white picket fence.
I don't
didn't give
need
a shit.
kids. I'll take my dogs, but
I don't
otherwise,
mind living in a van down by the river.
pass. I like technology too much for that.
All right. Let's continue the video.
What is a power couple? That means we're partners? No.
Are you asking me, sorry, or is that a
That's a
rhetorical?
power couple. That means we're partners. You have 2 or 3 children. Which one?
2.
Do you want your kids to be able to go to college if they want to?
Yes,
Do you want to travel nationally and internationally with your children?
both.
Do you want to have to work to pay significant bills after you're pregnant and married with your first child?
Yes,
you-
like,
You want to have to work to pay significant bills when you're pregnant.
oh, significant bills? No.
Significant, yeah.
I
you
would
have
like
to pay significant bills right now. Okay. So, what percentage? What percentage of the family financial load do you want to have to be responsible for an entire lifetime?
These are all really good questions.
Yeah.
I would say 30 to 40%.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, 30 to 40% means if you stop working for any reason, you stop bringing in income for any reason, the family is at serious risk. Serious risk, meaning you will not be able to stop working for under any circumstances. Is that what you're saying?
That's a good question. No, ideally,
Really
no.
good question.
Because not working while you're pregnant doesn't line up with 30 to 40%. So what percentage of the overall family financial load do you want to have to be responsible for? This is not negotiable. It has to be done.
No, I appreciate. I would say 10%, honestly.
Okay, 10%. How much would a man need to make in LA to afford 2 children, a wife, and himself to live an upper class life?
How much do you guys think that would cost?
God.
In LA, probably 100K.
Shit.
I think it'd be way more than 100K.
I was gonna say. I was
Really?
gonna say 3.
I was saying bare minimum too, man.
I was gonna say 3.
It's gonna sound like I'm cheating a little bit. I don't remember what he actually ends up saying, but in LA to be able to. I actually wrote down what she said. But they have
Yes, you
2
did.
kids, put them both in college, be able to travel internationally, and she's only needing to account for 10% of the household income. She probably needs a guy who makes upwards of like a minimum like $500,000 a year.
Especially because she also said, like you said, travel internationally and nationally
Yeah,
with her kids.
yeah, like that's a fucking lot, dude.
My
You're
friend,
talking
well,
an insane amount of money.
my friend and her husband went on an Africa tour, and they
Mhm.
did a pretty upper class one. They like stayed in like this fucking outside bungalow, and they had these safari tours and stuff. It was 20 grand for just the 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, fuck, dude. Just the plane tickets alone are probably like 3-4 grand a pop.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
20 grand. So,
yeah.
and these are pretty like lower middle class individuals. Like,
Well, and they aren't bringing any kids.
right,
You know,
right.
they probably don't do that consistently. You know,
Yeah.
like you can be like middle class and be like, yeah, we're planning
So
on
traveling
like,
with kids is a real pain in the ass. I just came back
oh
from
my
Tennessee.
god,
It
yeah,
was a real bitch. So
And that's
fucking
yeah,
Africa.
and that's just a national fucking
Oh
vacation.
my god.
yeah,
Everyone
dude.
got their malaria shot. Let's go. Whoop whoop.
You're gonna feel like shit for 2 weeks.
Woo!
Um,
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
yeah.
the
Okay.
hardest thing about that question is like, because I don't know what the cost of living is out in California. I know it's high, but I can only guess. And yeah,
Well, and he
you
said
know, you
upper
can.
class too. He didn't even say middle class. He said upper class. So
He
like,
did.
Well,
He did.
because that's what she's describing,
yeah, absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Like two
yeah, yeah.
kids,
No, yeah.
college, international travel, you know, all shit like that. Like that is upper. That's not middle class. That's fucking upper class. That's not even upper middle class.
Yeah.
But you know what's
That's
funny too is like for me it's like because like so Dana this is kind of in part where it comes to that like compromising shit. So Dana started working because she ended up doing something she wanted to do. She's making more money than I did, but not much more. She's making like 10K more. Right?
yeah,
To me that's like upper living. Like, ooh shit, we're making more. This is gonna be great. So I've kind of centered myself to know like I know what's manageable, right? I know what's great living.
yeah,
So 100K? Oh my god, I'd shit my pants.
yeah.
You
I know.
know,
Well, yeah, totally. But I mean, even at that,
500K? Get the fuck out of here.
yeah.
I don't want to hear your problems.
Well, I don't either. All right, let's see what the answer is here.
I would definitely say 500,000 or more.
Yep.
Don't give me a more. Just give me a number.
650,000.
All right.
$650,000 a year is what she's looking
Do
for
you
in a
care if
guy.
he's black or not?
No, I'm open.
Okay. You're 36.
Good. She's not a
Yes.
racist.
Have you had a serious relationship with a non-black man?
Yes, I have.
How long did it last?
It lasted a year and a half.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'5",
Dress size?
4.
Okay. And your last serious relationship was how long ago?
My last serious relationship was 6 years ago.
Okay. And the last time you've been intimate? The last 12 months?
8 months ago.
All right. So, ma'am, what percentage of men earn $650,000 or more?
Well, from the conversation I heard you speak about earlier, it sounded like it was less than 10%.
It's less
10% of
than
men
5%,
earn
I would say.
$100,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3%
Well,
of
in
men
LA,
make
it depends on where you're from.
$300,000, $250,000, or $500,000. 3% of men make, okay, 10%, 100,000. Top 5%, around $250,000. 300,000, you start dropping around 3%. You get over 500,000, you're talking about 1%. And you're talking more than that. So you're talking about a fraction of a percent. So if if a man he can meet that, and how tall? You said y'all tall 5 what?
Say that again.
How tall are you again? You said you're 5 what?
I'm 5'5", 5'8" with heels.
Okay. So how tall does he need to be?
Anywhere like 5'8" and taller. I'm flexible.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
That's
this
good.
man can meet your socioeconomic standard, which is rather
She was
on
told
the
that 8
higher
months ago.
side, I think it's fair to say he can meet most women's. why would a man choose you over thousands of other women? That's the question.
That's a great question, and I still feel like I'm.
That is a really great question.
That's not a great question. That's the question, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that
yeah,
is
because
the
that's a
question.
self worth. Yeah, you're asking self
Mhm.
worth.
Yeah, you hit it dead on the money, Jake. Like that is the question. You're talking about literally a top 1% human being on the planet. Well, like you better bring something strong.
Right. Absolutely.
Like you better bring something real strong. Um, because getting like what you said, where you had talked about like the D&D podcast where the woman had put up the thing where it's like, listen, if you're pursuing me and I'm at this bracket here, like why should I bother looking at you unless you're at least making a valiant attempt to meet my bracket?
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's a great question, and I still feel like I'm trying to figure out how to market myself. I do feel like I've been a firm believer in personal development. Um, I think a lot of us don't come from backgrounds where we were provided with stuff, so I'm constantly seeking this knowledge. That's why I'm on here.
But what would you have? But you have to give me something. You know yourself better than I do, so don't tell me I don't.
I would say one thing that is my strength is I'm a very social person. So when I think of somebody who is in that income bracket, I feel like I would their business because of the social like relationships that I have. I would be that
No.
connector. I'm really known for being a good like networker. So I
She's
think I'd
just
be
all
that valuable.
business.
Do you know any men that earn that kind of money?
Not personally, no.
Do you know any men who earn over $400,000 a year?
Not
No.
into. Yes, I do.
You do or don't?
I do.
Are they married?
No, they're single.
What's wrong with them?
What do you think a man who makes that kind of income? What are some of the things they would want from a woman?
I definitely feel they want a baddie for sure.
Or what?
Hold on, I think that's a good place to pause it. With the description of what she has put forward of like the kind of guy she wants, what do we think that let's answer that question before her. What kind of qualities in a woman do you think a guy who makes $650,000 a year desires in a marriage? Not even just like some side chick or some like one night stand or something, because that's just overall attractiveness and willingness.
What does a guy value?
I
Yeah,
mean,
like what do you think someone? Because none of us, at least I don't think so, none of us are making
Little
$650,000 a
do
fucking
you
year.
know.
you don't realize that this two-bedroom apartment is a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
Yeah.
my
Hey,
facade.
hey, Jakaya, help a motherfucker out by sending me a fucking PC, then, you dick. Um, but I mean, like, what do we think? Like, I personally would think that someone who's making $650,000 a year, and they're making 600, they didn't just come in they didn't win the lottery or anything like that, right? I would imagine that what they want is not someone to help her. Like I heard her say, help with business. That's not what. That's not honestly what like a lot of men want to begin with, let alone someone who's making $650,000 a year. What
I
they want is someone who will like take care of all the back end shit. Like I want to be
Yep,
able to go like that's a hyper driven individual.
I
Like
was
they're
just
like
about to
I want to be
say
able to come
somebody.
home. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, you nailed it because like somebody who's making that kind of money, upper management. You're talking upper management, or even higher than that. Like
Yeah, you're talking
so.
like multiple business owner.
So with that kind of a drive, with that kind of a schedule, you know that somebody like that doesn't exactly get the luxury of free time, let alone the luxury of just going onto the open market. Like, I don't know. I feel like if you want to make money, you're just gonna fucking do it, and you're probably gonna back bar any significant relationships that are you're not hunting particularly, right? You're kind of just doing your thing, right?
Yeah.
And so when if you do stumble across somebody who is of interest to you, it's kind of like, can you help me manage, like you said, the stuff that's kind of in the back burner, the stuff that's at home? Like, I don't want to say be the caretaker, but seriously, can you be the caretaker? Can you take care of me? Can you take care of my family? Can you, whatever? Like, all of the shit that I have to do. Could you help me
Yeah.
kind of process, perhaps, like,
Well, how many
because there
hours a
isn't any,
week do you think that guy is working? Right?
you
Like,
know, for her, and
70.
that's the weird thing too, because like, it really just sounds nothing but business, right, out of this lady. Like, I want to be a business partner, so it's just like a mutual business transaction to this lady. So it's kind
I
of
mean,
like,
I don't even think that's it, right? Like, so I I think her intent is really good. I just don't think that I just don't think she realizes what she's fucking asking for, right? Because like
right,
in her mind, she really thinks she wants a partner, right? Like she really thinks she wants somebody where like they're on equal levels. But what she doesn't realize for some reason is that like the thing she's asking is she's asking to be taken care of. She's asking for a man to put to take care of everything that she needs taken care of financially so that she can just kick back and enjoy her life. But she doesn't want to be relegated to like the fucking cooking mom or the whatever, the stay at
yep,
home mom, because she
yep,
wants her life to have value beyond being a mom or being a wife, right? She wants to have a life that she feels she built on her own. But the problem is like if this man has already built this really big life, and I want to get away from the idea that this is exclusive to men or women. I think the same would apply if this were a fucking hyper successful woman. Why would that person want someone to be equally as successful as them
yeah,
when that means that whatever their home life is going to fall to the wayside if they're working as much as we anticipate they are, right? 70, 80
certainly.
hours a week putting in that life. That person needs somebody that can handle their at home life, that can take care of the kids, that can cook or whatever,
yep,
whatever they're not willing to pay external staff for, right? Because
Certainly.
most of these
yeah,
people can probably afford fucking cooks and cleaners and
Yeah, if
whatever.
if you're making 650 a year, you can definitely afford a nanny.
Because
well,
Yeah.
you
that's
better believe
yeah.
if I break the 80K bracket, I'm hiring a fucking maid to come clean my house once a week. You better. That's a
Yeah.
promise. Just so we're on the
one
same
of the
page.
one of the things that I heard that I want to, or one of the things that I want to hear mentioned here is what her expectations are of her children, because that's going to decide, or that's going to dictate like how honestly feasible it will be on both parties, because you
What
can't.
can you elaborate that on ever so slightly before you dig in a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit? Like
yeah.
what do you mean
So
expectations on the children, like what she
if
expects of those children or what she expects to do for those children?
to do for those children,
Okay.
exactly, right? Does she want to be a loving mother to teach these kids how to grow and learn to live life, or she want to, or does she? Because there's going to be a difference, right? Because they're probably going to say something along the lines of, "I want my kids to live a good life." And that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that I want to take care of them. It just means that I want them to live a good life and be provided for. The
Damn, look
question
at
I want to
Matt
hear,
being mega perceptive.
the question I want to hear asked is if she wants to be that provider, or if she wants him to be that provider. Because if she wants to do that, that's going to be virtually impossible given the schedule that we know that's going to be doing that kind of work. You're not handed 600K. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
if it's I want them to be provided for, then it's just a matter of, well, it's not impossible. It's certainly a small number to get that kind of thing, and it's kind of like, you're just, the lifestyle is strictly going to be, it can be done. You just
Yeah.
buy out
Well,
all
and
your
are
stuff
you
and
talking
do all
about
the rest
her
for you.
providing like emotional needs and stuff like that? Because you're talking about I
Well,
want them to be provided
no,
for.
because that to
Are you
me is
kidding?
part of providing for your kids, right? If you want to provide for your, like, if you want to, okay,
Hang on. I guess where I'm getting confused. I don't know. Are you asking what she wants to provide for her own children, or what she
right.
wants to have whoever she's looking for in a romantic partner for life for
Well,
them to provide for her?
we're talking strictly on children, right? So again,
Yeah.
right? So going back into, if she wants the best for her kids, just
Hmm.
strictly the best, then you could pay out those services to do that for you, just like any other rich family does.
Okay.
Hire a nanny,
Okay.
hire the cooks.
Yeah.
She can go to work. He can go to work. They can do their kids. The kids are taken care of, and so by her standards, they're good. They're set. But
Yeah,
if
but to
she
be honest,
wants to be that
yeah.
role,
I don't think that's her intention. I don't think that.
right, but that's what I want to hear. The question that's asked is, if
Yeah.
she wants to be that level of provider, if she wants to be a mom, like in its entirety, it's just not gonna happen.
Well, and
You
that's the
can't
other
you
thing
can't do
too,
that.
right? Like with advertising to someone who is this hyper successful, but wanting to be someone who is working and building your own empire. How are you expecting to not only take care of your children if you want to be an active part of their lives, but take care of your children, take care of like your relationship, right? Because like if like let's assume this dude is making, again, let's assume 70 hours a week, and if she wants to bring herself to his level and be a hyper successful person as well, we're talking 60, 70 hours a week as well. How are you managing the time to take care of your success, take care of your relationship, take care of your, because this gentleman, like,
Uh,
he's looking for someone to, assumedly, and I think this is what Samuels is also saying, is this gentleman would be looking for someone to take care of his life outside
yep,
of work and be able to enjoy his time with
yep.
his family and his wife when not at work, right? So
I
if she's
completely
at
agree.
work doing all of these things too, he's missing, like, what's the point?
Yeah, why would I
At
why would
least
I
the general
bother?
consensus of men are certainly going to think that because if you're busting your ass, you want someone to take care of you, your home, and everything else that's not work related. You want to get off that steam and be like, that's what I want in somebody.
Yeah.
Well, and
At
a
least
lot of
that's what
times
I
for men
consider.
who are making that much money, it's really hard for them to come off that drive. Like we're talking about
Yeah.
like a super like specific personality type of this is a person who just they're constantly on, right?
Yep.
Like they
Yep.
every like it like they would be looking for someone who would be like, yeah, when I come home, I want someone who's capable of making me not think about like work, right? Because
Yep.
that is like you're talking about a person who is like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos kind of
Yep.
mentality, where
Yep.
it's like all I do is make money. Like
Yeah.
and if her thought process, I mean like and if she was like, well, I want to be able to build my own empire and stuff like that, we can hire help and things like that. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea because if you're going to hire this like nannies, teacher, person who take like, listen, lady, you're going to be in a rough spot because eventually he's going to go, why am I not just fucking the nanny? Like,
Well, and
Right.
I think
like,
right. Well, and I think it depends on what. A lot of this is like us interpreting what their expectations are, right? So, like the
Mhm.
person, in this instance, whoever is making less money, like I like to get. I don't want to assume that it's always the male or whatever the fuck, but if
yeah,
you're hiring a nanny, how much are you putting on that nanny, right? Are we talking like, hey, this is a
a temporary.
a six, not even temporary, but like a 6 to 2, right? Like this is school for this
Yeah.
kid, right? Okay, sure, like I can get behind that. Or is this like well, I work 70 hours a week, so the nanny is there literally anytime we're not home, right?
Yeah,
Like
that this
what?
is yeah, that would almost be like you would almost in that situation this scenario we're building for them, you're talking about like a live-in person.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, right? So like what kind of expectation are you setting for yourself, your man, and your life? Like how much of that are you putting on this nanny, right? Because again, if
Mhm.
if this nanny is like a teacher that you have hired to be like a nanny and a teacher for like school hours, okay, like that makes sense. We send our kids to school, like they're not in our care for that time. You work in that time and then you come home and you're a
Sure.
family person, whatever. But if the intention is to have that live-in nanny all the time because you're a hyper successful person as well, then like, and you're still only responsible for 10% of the finances that are required, what is the point, right? Like why are
Yeah.
you there at that point, right? now
That's
now
what I was
don't get
saying
it
like
twisted. My friends that went to Africa, one of the things that like their relationship is predicated on is like the male in the relationship, he has a pretty good job, so he basically covers all of their bills, right? And then the female that
yeah.
works with them, she makes less money, but they use all of her money for their extra travel expenses, their fun,
Mhm.
all of those things, right? So like
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly fine, and like they're happy and they love each other and they get to do basically whatever the fuck they want because they don't have kids. But and maybe that's what she's looking for, right? Maybe that 650K male, if she's bringing home, let's say, I don't know, let's say she's bringing home 300, but she doesn't, none of that's for the bills, right? That's just what she's bringing home, and she uses that for extra expensive, what her kids wants, put some money away for college, whatever. I think that's perfectly fucking great, but like,
Sure.
you need to make sure that like you're when you are looking for someone that is that hyper successful, you need to decide what it is that you're bringing to the table to make yourself accessible to that person that is so far above you in elevation. I don't mean to
Yeah,
say that in a hateful way, but I'm just talking specifically financial status, right? Like
absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
exclusively what I mean by higher status.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yep.
So let's continue on.
I want somebody who is like a 10 for sure. Somebody who's well kept, well put together, dresses well, speaks well, articulate, great conversation, can be in a crowd with anybody and be able to be put together.
You just described a man.
I described a man.
Mm-hmm. You're describing the prototypical Tyler Perry Sex and the City metro female fantasy.
I mean, he's dead on.
Very traditional. The housewives were raised to be housewives. They're not socialites. They're not networking. They don't need you to network. They're already the ends are meeting like a motherfucker with these men.
True.
Very true. You ladies have been told, go out and get your PhD.
I'm a PhD.
And then you go out here and you can network and help them build a business. He doesn't need you for that. Would your kids be in private school or public school?
I would like them to be homeschooled.
All right. Would you have a housekeeper?
She wants them homeschooled?
Would you have somebody to help prepare food, the meal?
I missed that. Did she say she's having a teacher?
I like to cook. That's my love language. One of my love languages.
Cooking? Cooking isn't a love language.
First of all, cooking is absolutely a love language.
But I'm asking, would you have somebody who would help you with the household chores?
Yeah, I cook.
Yes.
Yes, they would, or no, they wouldn't?
I like to cook. I personally like to cook.
Yes, they would, or no, they wouldn't?
No, they would not.
Would you have a nanny?
Yes.
So you want a housekeeper and a nanny. So effectively, you're going to incubate a baby.
Yo.
Damn.
So what a man at that level effectively gets your DNA. There's another woman in the house to help tend the house, another woman to help raise the children. He gets your DNA. What kind of professions would a man need to have legally to make $650,000 or more legally?
Legally.
He would have.
I really like that he says legally like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Man. Fuck, dude. I mean, I guess with 650,000 you could still, because she added on some extra shit from what she said before, right? I also want a nanny. I also want them to be homeschooled. I also want,
Hey, I'm just glad she didn't say private school. Shit.
Fuck, dude. Private school is probably less expensive than hiring someone, because she's not talking about schooling them themselves.
But she did say homeschool.
Yeah, she's talking about hiring a fucking private teacher to come to your house and teach your fucking children.
True.
That is way. I bet you. I have no idea, right? I look at that and I go, no fucking way.
That's not impossible, right?
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, I guess that would still work.
You're incubating a kid.
It's true. And that's a harsh reality. Yeah, that's a harsh reality, and that's where a lot of online, where you first got kind of viral sort of sensation was kind of the thing where he just cuts through the bullshit. Yeah. Which I find super interesting, because that's something that you could see it on her face when he said that, where she was like, you got me, right, yeah, I never thought about it that way. You're right.
Well, and it makes perfect sense, right? Because I watched this show. It's sort of a guilty pleasure show. It's called Working Moms, and one of the women in it is this hyper successful woman who's really driven, and she works a bunch, and she wants a kid, right? And she does the opposite of what this girl does. She's in this male's position in this instance, but she doesn't go out and look for a man, right? She just gets a fucking sperm donor that checks all the boxes she wants and has the baby herself. Because if you're gonna have all these external people helping you take care of this baby anyway, why the fuck do you need a relationship, right?
Yeah, well, and that's where kind of I was saying, in this scenario, I would look at this situation. It's almost like an Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of thing, right? Where it's ma'am, at what point do you think this guy's going to realize that he's paying the person that he ought to be just fucking and marry?
Yep.
right? Like, like,
Well, and
hey, wait.
the funny part
Yeah.
about it too, I don't know who writes Working Moms, so I don't know who I haven't looked it up to credit whoever. But one of the funny things is like the person that this hyper successful woman ends up being interested in is
Hmm.
like an ultrasound tech at a hospital, and he's a pretty nurturing and caring guy
Yeah.
who isn't hyper successful and driven, who wants to take care of people, right? So
Hmm.
like because that's what hyper successful people want. They want someone who can take care of them when they're not fucking driving everything home or at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, yeah, I kind of heard that and I watched her face and I was like, ooh, like that's a hard punch in the gut,
Well, and
but
she took
fuck.
it well because
Yeah.
she's seeing
Yep.
it, right? Like she's not a
Yeah.
dummy. That's one of the things I like about this girl. Like she
Hmm.
sees it. She knows what she's asking and she knows that like she's probably being a little absurd, but
Hmm.
she doesn't see all of it, right? Like
Right.
but as he says these things, rather than being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you'd say that about me," she's like, "Oh shit, like
I hadn't thought
I
of that.
didn't
Yeah.
really think what I was saying was that crazy, but like it kind of
Yeah.
is, isn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
it?"
Yeah.
Which I can
No, I
appreciate.
agree.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay. We'll keep trucking on through. Oh, I guess one other thing before we get it going. What kind of professions do I can't think of anyone, any profession itself, aside from like multiple business owner, right? Like I'm a guy who owns several business, like I own a shipping business, I own like something along those lines like that. That could make $650,000 a year legally, or maybe like a hedge fund manager or something like that.
High profile lawyer or accountant, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
When I say
maybe.
high profile, I'm talking
Yeah,
celebrity. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Could be. Matt, can you think of any jobs or professions that would make $650,000 a year?
Yeah. Give me one second.
As I
I
Google
haven't
it.
the slightest idea. Oh, come on. No fucking way. Oh my god. Surgeon.
Real? Does it say just surgeon
It's
generally?
on Indeed. It's a surgeon on up to 600K. Got it.
Wow. That's kind of surprising. I didn't think like like I've apparently made a lot of surgeons very wealthy with the like 8 surgeries I've had in my life.
right?
No
Investment
shit.
banker, that's one that Google has on
Sales
there.
executive, integrated producer, account executive,
Really
media.
successful authors. I bet Brandon Sanderson rakes in the fucking dough how much that dude puts out books.
A
Yeah,
physician? A
just on
fucking
royalties alone.
Yeah.
physician?
No, that has to be like an awfully specific position.
It's in the Bronx. I know, but still Bronx,
I
New
know
York.
for well, that's also like a really high class, like that's a high
That's got to be a personal physician, right?
it has to be something cuz I know plenty of physicians that do not
Dude,
make
I
anywhere
know. That's a. Did
near
you not see my
$650,000
reaction
a
when I
year.
saw a physician? I'm like, that fuck you. There's no way.
Yeah.
Can
Okay.
you imagine? I'm a physician. I earn 600K.
Oh,
Bye.
how yeah, I earn and if it was it's like I'm a physician. I earn 600K in the last 12 years of my life. All of that money's been going to my fucking student loans.
Why did
Yeah.
you not advance your medical career? I don't know. I
True.
really like being a physician.
Because I made poor
Yeah. I
choices in
really
my life.
yeah. I thought being a general doctor would be better. Turns out I was a fucking retard.
Right.
Okay. All right, let's see.
He would have to be in finance, attorney,
Finance
anesthesiologist.
doing what? Finance doing what?
I would suppose he'd have to be like a financial advisor
For whom?
for athletes or the 1% wealthy, managing funds for them.
Okay. And you said an attorney?
An attorney,
What kind of attorney?
Johnny Depp's attorney.
entertainment attorney,
Right.
corporate law.
Right?
Oh,
What
Rittenhouse's.
else?
Goddamn.
I guarantee you they
What are
didn't make
the other
650K.
type? They would have to be in finance. I would say like stocks, things of that sort, like Wall Street. Those are the ones that come to my
Girl,
mind
what
right
makes you
now.
think you deserve somebody
Well, man,
from
you
Wall
want this
Street?
high. You want this
What
high
do you
post
got?
man. I think you should be able to know at least.
Be a bad bitch.
See, this is what I'm showing.
She's really
You
pretty.
ladies like yourself. You
But-
want this luxury lifestyle.
Uh,
And you can't even
I
give
think
me
she's
5
not like
professions that
Rihanna
you would
pretty.
look
No,
into.
no, that's
no,
what I mean.
right.
Okay. Well, let's go on the other side.
Getting 600K pretty.
an average or an above average man. Average man makes 40,500. Would you date an average man? Seriously?
Dude, I'm an average man.
I
Look
have.
at me go.
No, no, no,
May
no.
I? Can I?
Would you marry an average man?
Yes.
That means you'd have to work and bring home substantial money because
Yes.
your lifestyle and his lifestyle are different. You'd be the breadwinner. You would do that.
That's why I feel toggled between the two, and that's why I work my business right now, because I tried dating guys that were, I guess you would say the average blue
But
collar.
the answer is no or yes.
Can you ask the question one more time? I'm sorry.
Would you decrease your lifestyle and your standard of living to marry an average man?
No, I would not decrease my lifestyle.
All right,
No.
so this is the problem. Women in your age, too old, your standards are too high, your standard of living is too high, and you've outpaced the market. You don't know what the men do. You know, yes, attorneys, but even you talk about specialized attorneys. You're talking about people in the service class, and they're servicing the elite. That's a very, very small group. The group they service is small, and the group that services them even smaller. And what they don't go looking for is a partner, and they don't just go looking for DNA. They tend to go looking for women who are housewives who are going to provide them a quality of life. You are
Howdy.
effectively a luxury room in another bill. No shade, because homeschool, but you want a nanny, you want a housekeeper. So your job description is going to be, I have sex with my husband and I produce his children. And then after the second child is produced, then what? What is your job after the second child is produced? Someone is in the house taking care of it. Somebody's in the house raising it. What
You're
do you
echoing,
do?
Matt.
Because you don't want to pay more than 10%.
Can I share some?
Yeah, but I'm hello? Go ahead.
So when I've tried dating guys that were like the last gentleman that I was dating, he was a truck driver. And what was coming up was he was expressing that just the way I dress and put myself together, he was intimidated by the way I put myself together. And although
That's a
I
problem
was
too. That's a
okay
problem
with
too.
meeting
It could
him where
totally
he
be a
was at,
problem. Yeah.
it became a problem. And so through that journey and kind of looking back at it, I felt like I had to level up my standards because I felt like I kept coming against a wall when I am trying to date somebody for just truly getting to know them.
Well, the problem isn't the truck driver. The problem is why and when you were 22 years old, weren't you looking to be married?
I was looking to get married.
Okay. You've been engaged?
Yes, I have.
Who called off the engagement?
I did.
Why?
Okay.
It was emotionally abusive.
Okay.
So you've not dealt with any suitable men in your life that were marriage minded.
I did not know how to look for that at the time. No.
But the answer is you had. You just didn't know.
Yes.
So you weren't really looking because if you weren't available to receive it. So do you make room for the possibility of the fact that this is what tends to happen with women? You're hypergamous. You want a man to have at least what you have. What happens the longer you work in your profession? You make more money. The older one gets, the more you've experienced. You want a man that's way up here, but your sexual marketplace value is down here relative to this. And if this man is up here, just like you would have to settle, he'd have to settle. Is it fair to ask him to settle?
No.
And he's not going to. And if you don't,
Do we agree with that? Is it fair to ask the other person to settle? Because I don't know if that's necessarily true.
I feel like it was more of a broad remark. It was kind of like, I don't think it was, will the man or will all men settle? Like, no, I think it's more like, seriously, can you expect one to do so? And I would say no, I wouldn't certainly expect it.
I think I think he's pretty spot on for the most part.
Yeah.
I think that it's like expecting anyone that is above your station to settle for you, and then feeling like it's not fair that they don't is silly, right? Like I just think it's silly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
but I will say this, right? This girl,
Yeah.
was talking about dating people that are below or similar to her, but she sort of puts her out there as herself as like strong, independent, whatever, and these people are
Hmm.
intimidated by her. Like that's a problem too. Like, but I don't think that's her problem, right? Maybe she was just dating the wrong person, and that's fine. You people date the wrong people. It happens.
I think it's
Um,
bullshit.
Well, and I always question, like,
I don't I don't think so.
I
I think
don't.
it happens all the time.
Well, I don't say like being intimidating happens. I'm saying dating a truck driver and dressing to intimidate the truck driver in a sense. I think what happens is that she overdressed to impress a fucking truck driver, and the truck driver said, "What the fuck are you doing?" And she was like, "What? You don't like what I'm wearing?" He says, "No, you look like a fucking clown." And then she went, "Well, I'm clearly intimidating," because her words were that she was intimidating. She
Yeah,
said that
because
I'm
I do
intimidating. Yeah,
wonder. Yeah, I do kind of wonder that thing where it's like, I'll
the fucking
hear
truck
that
driver,
from
dude.
women where they're like, my personality intimidates these men, something like that. And I mean, I personally, that just seems really baffling to me in a lot of
Sounds like a
ways.
great way to list an excuse for why your standards didn't match theirs. In standards, like say, like again, how you dress. Like you want to really dress to impress. You're really used to dressing high end. Let's just say he's a fucking truck driver. I
Yeah, he's
seriously,
all comfort.
this
He's
guy
like,
goes to
yo,
Bass.
I'm
This guy goes to Bass Pro Shop. Let's be fucking real. And like you
sure.
know, so I'm sure he called her out going at a fucking Waffle House or some shit.
Well,
He's
or
like,
it could have been simply she was experiencing what other men, like the kind of guy that she's looking to get experienced, right? Which
yeah,
is like,
yeah.
I'm I am dating far below like what my status pool necessarily is, and this person just does not have the same desires as I do. Because I don't understand, and I kind of almost can't comprehend like this thing where it's like I was too successful and this intimidated this person out of a
Have you
Exactly.
relationship.
never
And I'm
met
just
people
like,
like that?
Yeah,
no,
but
I
to
not
have.
say
really.
I absolutely
Well,
have.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think it makes
to
sense either
say
because
Yeah.
shit, my partner can make as much money as they fucking can. Let's get
yeah.
it. I'll take being taken care of. But
Yeah.
Well,
like it happens, especially if in the generation of like men who were taught that like they're the breadwinners, they're the providers. So like they feel like they are less when they are not the provider. That is a real thing.
Kai, I want to point this out. She's like our age.
She's a little bit older than us. She said she's 37. I'm 31. So
let
like
me
I'm
point out
yeah, I'm
big
31.
one, right? Big one here that I'm trying to hurdle over is just exactly what Jakaya said. I have been groomed to be that breadwinner, and since Dana and I have effectively we've swapped roles. I've become Mr. Mom.
right.
And that was a decision we both made because she went to school to do all the stuff that she wanted to
Wasn't it like
do.
molecular biology?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was doing HVAC, and I was gonna. I got laid off in COVID. She wasn't working. She was wrapping up school, and unemployment was drawing to a close. And so we're at a crossroads with who's gonna go to work. We have a baby. We both can't work because if we both do, it's gonna be pointless because the money that one of us makes will go straight to daycare, and it will be for fucking nothing.
Because
So you're
daycare is
better off.
fucking insane.
So
It
you're better
really
off
is.
raising, and the benefit of raising your baby on your own just outweighs the cost that you put for some shitbag
Yep.
daycare, right?
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
question is, nose goes, right? And so we came to a decision that Dana said that she really felt that she could make more. And I said, you know what? Like, I didn't have a goal. My goal as a man was to provide. So I picked up HVAC because it was like the least resistance. I enjoyed that enough to where it didn't suck that much, right?
Yeah.
And even like office work, I groomed myself to do office work. I taught myself how to type. But Dana went to school for this. This was like a dream of hers. I
Right.
said, take it. If you really can do it, take it. She did it.
Certainly.
And I'm learning the role of being Mr. Dad. I feel fucking useless. Like I'm really taking some real hard mental hits with this where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing my role. Like there's a
Yep.
lot with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
But would you say that you feel intimidated by Dana's drive professionally?
No, because the nice thing is that because Dana has always been the stay-at-home mom, she's learning some challenges that come with being the provider. So I'm kind of giving her some of my personal advice on how to get through work, right? Because she's going through the work lingity. Because also keep in mind too, Dana hasn't worked in a long time since she got out of the Navy. She just went straight to school.
Yeah.
So and work in the Navy is a whole different pig than working in the workforce, right?
Yep.
Because you're being told what to do in the Navy versus when you have a responsibility and you can get fired, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole
Yeah,
different.
totally.
Yeah.
One of the
So
benefits of the Navy is like your job is to listen.
you can't get fired, really.
Yeah, you got to do some
No,
real
So
dumb shit.
you can't get fired, but they can take half your pay for an extended period of time.
right, right, and so there is that. So I don't feel intimidated by Dana, like on that sense. In fact, I'm.
No, but
It's kind of.
you did admit that you feel like it's hard for you emotionally, right?
Oh man, I
And you
because
made
I have. What's my goal? I'm having a hard time with
yep,
purpose
yep.
because
Mhm.
raising my kids is fine. It's great. There's gratification behind it, but as a male, I just don't feel gratified with that. Like there's no like I got to do something. Like idle hands is the devil's play, and I'm sitting here fucking with a kid, putting him to sleep, and I'm like,
Yeah. And that's like
ah,
and
Well,
like there are more severe versions of that out there. I don't
oh,
think
I'm
what
sure.
she's saying is a lie or wrong. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not the whole story, but I think that happens. I've met people who have told me that they feel intimidated by their successful partner. Like
Oh yeah,
it happens. I think it's
yeah.
mhm.
ridiculous, but it happens.
I
Because
think
I
another
mean,
scenario with the truck drivers what really made me question it at least because that just seemed really weird. And then again, any woman that says that they were intimidating or they felt intimidated by me, it's kind of a pretentious statement. I feel like because it's not like I would say, well, I scared her.
well,
Like, well,
so
no, she was
intimidation in
scared
this
of me.
is not that sort of intimidation. The intimidation in this is that like this person is
No, I know,
right,
but it's the context and how we deliver the information. It's like
there are
again,
implications to it. What this is kind of what I think of this, right? Is that I hear that term from lots of women where it's like I'm successful and that intimidates men away from me. And it's like, well, I think intimidate is probably the wrong term. What it is you know, Matt, you said it where it's like, well, my role I was conditioned to be where like I provide for my family and stuff like that. That gives me a sense of purpose. And most men are like that, right? Most dads, it's like, how'd you get your job? It was the job that hired me and paid me enough to where I could support my family, right? And then if you have a woman who's incredibly career oriented, it doesn't necessarily intimidate them out of wanting to be in the relationship. It's like, well, what kind of ends up happening is you've taken away like like a sizable portion of my purpose in life, and now I have to like either redefine what I'm supposed to do here, or I've been conditioned my whole life to where I do not have the skill set to actually help you in a relationship, right? Because now I need
it's
to be
one of the
Mr. Mom,
short-sighted things
right?
that
As
women do.
opposed to going out and making money and providing for my family and doing all the things that like a dad quote unquote normally would need to do.
Yep.
I am now I am now having to completely unlearn all of the things that I have learned throughout my entire life, and I don't know if I'm capable of doing that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
deuces,
I
right?
I
swear.
Like,
don't think I don't think that that is like an unfair way to feel, but I think it's
no,
unfair to put that on her and act like that is her problem.
sure, yeah. I would agree. Again, I like me and Kiki have talked about that, right? Like similar to like Matt, Kiki's in a field that she actually really enjoys. Like I go to work and I do work, and I mean I like my job enough, but like if you could if I could make the same amount of
Act
money
like this
not
was
doing my job, I wouldn't do my fucking job. Like
Right.
I'd be like,
like,
I'm
yeah.
out, see you later.
Right.
Kiki
You know,
gets
what,
up and enjoys doing what she does on a daily basis. So we've
Dana
talked
does
about it where
too.
it's like, yeah, where it's like if it was like, yeah, if Kiki were to somehow make the money we're both making now, or if some government program were to be put in place where it's like one person has to stay at the
Yeah.
home to take care of children, we're now like making this mandatory or some shit like that, and we're gonna compensate someone for the other. It's like, yeah, Kiki would be going to work and I'd be staying home,
You know
right?
what's funny is I found a loophole. I found because you have to find ways as a man to be clever with this kind of scenario. Because Dana has an opportunity where she applied for another pharmaceutical company
Hmm.
that might pay 80K, right? It's a huge.
Nice.
It's like a 20K. That's a 20K bump. So she's
That's
super.
yeah. Just to
Yeah,
put that in
right.
perspective, that's like that 80K period would be like almost mine and Kiki's income combined.
I know.
Yeah,
Oh, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
that's
I was
that's
making
pretty much
52.
double what I make a year. So
Yeah.
I was making 52 at Atlas Copco when I was a service coordinator. And data bumped up to 60, and I was like, okay, because we were gonna scoop job at 50-50, but you got a 60. I was like, this is what you want to do it. But I found ways to kind of make it work for me because besides doing shit around the house, I said, one thing I could do without having to put Barrett into pre-K, because again, before this, my sanity was like, how do you make this work? We came to this idea where it's like, there's a lot of work at home, like
Is
online
this a
work.
long-winded story to tell me how
No,
you
no,
now
no,
have
no,
an
no.
OnlyFans? Is that what we're doing right now?
Yeah, OnlyFans. No. But
then plugs his OnlyFans. But if you want to watch, blah 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 at
but
OnlyFans.
check
You
it
know?
out. I'll be like, no, I consider working from home and hiring a nanny, a part-time nanny to take care of the baby, but I could kind of be there to kind of supervise and work from home just so I kind of have that need fulfilled kind of thing. So
Yo, if I'm working from home, you best believe I'll be able to work from home and take care of Danny, because I'll be like, I'll eyeball him from the door and be like, if I hear that shit again, you're dead. You know that,
it's a
right? He'll
different
be like,
pig.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like I would
The
if I was
baby's a
working
different animal.
if I was working from home, I would want to hire a nanny, not even because of like the need, but because like as much as like we might talk shit about like how staying at home, in our personal life or whatever, staying at home parent isn't the worst thing ever, and like I would love to get taken care of to take care of the kids. The reality is you need a fucking break, bro. Like if you spend all your time with your kids, you need a fucking break. Kids are exhausting. Like they're fucking exhausting. So I
It's like
feel
me to tell
like
you Dana's shitty schedule. My fucking god, she's such a bitch. She can't work for saber. She's learning to work. She's a bitch. She comes home
Remember,
from
you're
work.
putting everything on the internet right now.
yep.
She can
I
go
could
back and pull up
fucking.
anytime there's an argument. Oh yeah? Oh yeah, Matt? What about
I,
this time?
What about when
I
you
have
called me
this
a bitch on
conversation with.
YouTube?
I have this conversation with her more times. I go, "You lazy bitch." She comes home. She puts her feet up. I go, "Oh, you fucking tired, huh?" I said, "I remember when I work. You gonna cook supper anytime soon, or is that on me again?" Because she doesn't want to cook. You fucker. Yeah, oh yeah, she
That
knows
would
it. I do
absolutely be
everything.
something I would look at Kiki and she'd be like, "Oh, well, if I stayed at home and then if she was ever like, "Oh, well, I came home and there wasn't dinner." I'd be like, "Yeah, when I came home when I was working 60 hours a week, I fucking cooked dinner too." What the fuck?
That's what I did when I fucking worked. But guess what? She works and she comes and she goes, "I
Uh,
don't know how to cook."
Honestly, man, the best thing for me is that like do you guys have Publix or Dominick's or Kroger up there?
Nah,
What's like your
it's a
grocery store?
Stop and Shop, Big
Stop and Shop.
Y.
Do they
Yeah,
do they have in Stop and like in the deli area? They have like ready to just throw in the
yeah,
oven meals, dude.
yeah.
I every time I go to the grocery store, I buy like two of those. I'm like, here you go, Kiki. This is your little go-to here, okay? For the days that I'm working late, this is what you do. You just throw.
It's
It's
your
got
favorite,
directions
your
in it. You'll be
stick.
all
That's
right.
pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway, let's
Yeah, but that's because you don't know how to cook. I do.
Actually get
I'm sure
somebody.
Dana's useless.
And what happens? Do you earn over six figures?
No, I don't.
Have
Not
you
right
ever
now.
earned over six figures?
Excuse me?
Have you ever earned over six figures?
Yes, I did.
For
Why'd
how
you
long?
stop doing that?
3 years?
In LA?
Why'd you stop doing that?
Yes.
Over 200,000?
Not over 200,000, no.
Over 150?
Less than 150.
So due respect, you were making about this.
125.
So that was like making $63,000 in Atlanta. So, ma'am, the way you kind of come across your image is like you're making $250,000 in Dallas or Houston. You're an above average earning woman, okay? But you want a man who's making multiples more. What does your father do for a living?
My dad is unfortunately
What did he do for a living?
he was an X-ray tech and owned like real estate.
What did your mother do for a living?
He was an RN.
Okay, so your mother and father were middle class.
Yes.
Why the hell are you looking for a rich man?
Because the guys, like I said, that I was meeting.
No, ma'am. You're middle class. Your degree is in what?
It was in sociology.
Sociology. One of those useless degrees.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting from you is a woman who has this. I have this look, this air, and that's cool. but you're not an elite. You're a middle class. You were from a middle class family, and you're out of your league. And I'm trying to be as political as I can, but oftentimes our women, when they get these degrees and they're starting to think you're up here, and your mom was an RN and your dad was an X-ray tech. That means you get somewhere between RN and X-ray tech. You got a degree in sociology. You're not making what you made before. You're in finance now. I don't know what that means. Primerica? What is that?
Yeah, network marketing. Yeah.
Primerica. I know. And how do I know these things, people? Because I, I don't just talk.
I understand.
But your standard is extremely high. And
True.
I'm going to say this in the nicest way I can, but you almost come across as like you're like imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say you dated a truck driver and you dressed a certain way and he felt intimidated, but the truck driver was probably was he earning what you were making?
He would always complain about money, so he presented it like he wasn't.
What kind of truck driver?
At the port in like.
Okay. But see, the thing is, the men are talking about.
Just to put that in perspective, if he was a truck driver at the port in San Francisco and he was actually working like on the docks, I worked with a lot of those Teamster guys while I was in the Navy as an LS. They make pretty good money. He was probably making anywhere between like $65,000 and $80,000 a year.
Well,
That's about what I figured.
Yeah,
truck drivers do make pretty good.
I mean, it
yeah,
depends on
they
what kind of
clearly
truck
can.
driver, but yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
on average.
he was probably making between like $65,000 and like $85,000.
But it ain't nowhere to her league.
Well, if she was making 125K,
even then,
at the same time, like, yeah, she was making more than what he was making, likely by half, if not double.
Yeah.
About up there, they're also going to look at your pedigree. They're going to look at where you come from. They're going to look at your school. They're going to look at your parents. They're going to look at who you dated. They're going to like, no, because they're going to bring you around their partners in a law firm. And unfortunately, all that at 36, and then you really don't want to work. You want to be taken care of. You're too old for that.
Ooh.
You worked all this time. Do you have student loan debt?
No, I don't.
Well, you
Good
worked
for
all
her.
this time. Why do you get to retire now? Because you have 2 kids? Absolutely not.
That's damn, man. That's a harsh slap in the tits of reality right there. And I mean, she's handling it well, but you can like see it in her eyes that like, this kind of this hurts her, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, and she's in a good position in life, right? She doesn't have student loan debt. She's, making somewhere close to 6 figures. Um, you know, she's, she's not old. She's 36, but I mean, she's in a bit of a tough spot. And I mean, he really kind of laid it out there pretty well. It's like you want to be taken care of. You don't want to really work. You want to have kids, but you're saying you want to have kids and then be able to like essentially retire. Like it sucks for her, and I really think that's I question these kind of things, right? Because you know uh it's hard. Like I could imagine, I haven't been single in a long time, right? But I could imagine like listening to something like this going on. And this almost gets to a question of whether or not these kind of discussions or this kind of program is actually healthy for society as a whole. Because I think it helps her in particular, but I think a lot of women would probably look and go like, well, I'm not her, right? And I could completely understand being a guy in like the modern dating scene and looking at these situations and kind of going like, fuck, man, I'll never be able to meet these expectations of these women, right? Um, that's rough, man. That sucks.
Well, I think you and I have talked about this off camera, but I think in my experience, the 2 biggest expectations of both genders that are way above what they should be. Women want men who are significantly more successful they are, And men often want women who are significantly more attractive than they are, right? Like those are the two that I would say in general I see of
Sure.
people
Yeah.
punching above their weight class. And I'm not really sure why it's like that necessarily. Maybe it's because women who are might be gorgeous or whatever think that they deserve someone who is successful because they are gorgeous, and men who are successful think that they deserve someone who is gorgeous even if their beauty standard is much lower or whatever. Maybe that's why. But like those are the two that I always see that it's like why is someone that is within your class not appropriate, not acceptable, not why can't
Well,
that make you happy?
They're
I
coddled.
would, yeah, I would probably push back on the men. They probably overvalue attractiveness. I, I would say they overvalue attractiveness. I've see a lot of men who will consistently kind of it's important only in like the sexual place. I think where men have expectations that are far too high is they have expectations that are far too high in women who will be capable of working and simultaneously be able to take care of all the things at home like they expected their mom to do.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I think that's probably where the overestimation of where of men to women. They expect a woman to be able to do a full-time job, help them with the bills, and do all of the second shift work, if we want to use a feminist term, the second shift work um that is expected at the house. They expect to be able to go and do their normal job, making normal money, right? So nothing extravagant, only pay essentially half the bills, and then be able to come home, kick off their shoes, and where's my scotch sandwich and a blowjob kind of thing, right? And that to me is the over expectation of how much labor women need to put into a relationship when they are not willing to they are not accepting of like where their class is, right? Like, hey man, you don't make that six-figure job. You don't get the sandwich blowjob and fucking foot rub at the end of the day, bro.
Right, right, right,
You're
right.
making 40K a year.
You
You
better
haven't
get
earned
your ass
that.
in there and do them dishes after she cooked type shit. Right.
Yeah, exactly, right? But I do agree with you where I see women who a lot of times look at men and they will assume men are they will desire a man who is essentially hyper productive and then be upset when that hyper productive man is looking at them like, I don't want to hear you bitch about shit, right? Like, I don't want to hear you complain about a fucking thing. And then they're like, well, God, now he's not emotionally engaging with me. So it's like, well, a hyper successful man is hyper successful because he dedicates 90% of his energy to whatever it is that's making him hyper successful, which means there's only 10% left for you. You better be comfortable with that.
Right.
Um, but
I
anyway,
wonder how much. I wonder how much of this plays into the part of going back with the women that are kind of brought up and raised on what it means to be like, girls play with dolls, babies, caretakers. They're raised to understand what it means to be a girl, a woman, a young woman, yada yada yada.
mhm.
And then as they kind of divert from that path, they end up learning their own independence. And so I wonder how much of this is related to the notion that they want that sweet life of being the
Stay at home mom, take care of
being
two kids.
cared for when they come
Yeah.
home. Like the husband's got me on this. He's gonna take care of me. I don't have to, not a worries at all. But in the same coin too, I'm also a strong independent woman because I've done all the things because I had to, like, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I wonder if the two kind of conflict
Uh,
to this like coddling mentality, because that's what I always think of what it sounds like when they say like, oh well, I want a guy that's gonna take care of me and blah blah blah. And then when I come home, I don't have anything to worry about. It's not a worries in the world. It's like, well, you're conflicting too. You can't work your ass off and then come home and say I
I
don't have to do anything.
I actually don't think it's a coddling mentality. I don't envy women in modern society, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're talking.
I don't think they're coddled in the sense that we would normally
I'm not
think of
saying that
anyone
they
as
are. I
coddled.
think it's a mentality.
Yeah. Well, even that, right? I think there are a lot of pressures put on women that are societal pressures and don't make a lot of sense, right? I think women are given two paradigms that are really pushed super hard on them, and they're completely conflicting paradigms, right? You just said it. from a young age, they want to play with dolls, they want to play house, they want to play like their mom, you know, they want to, you know, they're kind of conditioned to be mothers, wives, all the stuff like that, that by the dearth of being in a normal relationship, they're going to need those skills, right? But then
Yeah.
in the same breath, they're also told, you know, you're going to be the next woman president, or you're going to be the first woman president, you're going to be hyper successful, you need to outcompete men because it's a harsh world out there. Like they're simultaneously given these like two paradigms that are completely contradictory to one another,
Yeah.
and almost no one can make them both work, right? You can't be the strong successful lawyer woman who's breaking through the glass ceiling and becoming a powerful strong woman while simultaneously being the lady who's at home taking care of their husband, their wife, either their husband, their kids, the house, all sorts of stuff like that. Like you're going to fail at one of those things, and I think it throws like an error code in a lot of women, and they end up feeling a lot of times like they're failures because they can't make both of those same things work, whereas men don't necessarily have that straight. Like the expectation for a lot of men has generally stayed the same. It's just the standards for that have become significantly more difficult.
Yeah.
I get
Right?
it.
It's like,
I would
yeah.
be. I don't know what I would do if somebody was like, you need to be the caretaker, the hyper
Hmm.
successful one, the parent. You also have to physically give birth to those children and go through 9 months of pregnancy, which,
Yeah.
that one's not necessarily a society thing, obviously. We don't have
Hmm.
that capability. But the point is that, like, women are expected to do a lot of everything, and men are expected to hold a very high standard on very specific things. Both are stressful in different ways, but
Hmm.
I do see like women being spread very thin with expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're held to a lot of competing expectations,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, which is uh, I like I said, I don't envy women in the modern day and age. I don't envy men in the I would fucking despise. I'm so glad I'm married, and I'm so glad I've been married for a long time. Because
Hey,
like I look at dating in the
I know what
modern
you're
day
gonna
and I'm
say.
like, holy fucking shit. What is this? Like I looked away for a minute and this whole thing went to fuck.
yep, yep.
Dana laughs. She goes, "I know you'll never leave me because you're too lazy to go back into the dating world." And I go, "You're fucking right."
I
I said,
hear
"I'm
it.
the patient
I
for
So
it."
hear
true.
I
So
it.
true.
fucking hate
Preach.
people. No woman would fucking tolerate my ass. If they can't let me look at you and go, "You're a fucking asshole," and they not take that offensively, then go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what you. I don't know how she can do it.
It's yeah, no, I
I said,
agree.
if
If
we part, that's it. I'm good. I'm okay.
yeah, I'll be a bachelor forever. It's
Yeah.
all
I'm
good.
good, and I
I'll
can
play
do it
my
too.
video games and jack off. I'll be okay.
Fuck yeah.
All right, let's
That
go.
doesn't even sound like close to a fair deal.
So what would you say, like for me, who would
Hmm.
be like the that I should be looking for
Well,
that match?
well, socioeconomically, you'd be good to have somebody who's like an accountant, somebody who's like in tech, software engineer, systems engineer. Somebody's making 80, anywhere from 60 to 85. But my concern is, and maybe this is because you're a little nervous or whatever, and everybody responds differently, but you don't come across like you said with the way you dealt with that truck driver. If I asked the truck driver, dating you was blank, how do you think he can say he experienced you?
I couldn't answer that.
Intense.
Do you like to find the things in life?
Yeah.
I do. I don't like saying no to myself for opportunities and
Okay,
experiences.
but where did you get this? Okay, can you
Hmm.
afford these things?
I
Why can't
find
you?
a
No. The
I find a
answer
way to,
is no.
That means no. You
Yeah.
find a way to pay for them. That means you know you cannot afford them.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay.
Afford means you can afford to pay for them 3 times over in cash after all your obligations are met. Can you afford these things?
That is a
Yeah.
phenomenally good way to put into perspective, can I afford something?
That's also
I
a
can
phenomenally good way to say that lower middle class people can't afford anything.
well, I mean they can't.
Thinking that
Yeah, I
too,
mean,
but it doesn't sound very kind when he puts it into perspective because I
yeah.
heard that shit too and was like,
Ouch.
Fuck you, man.
I know, Nigel. How's that computer looking now?
Yo, well, I mean, to be honest with you, like,
But it
I'm
is
not
a
the
good.
I'm
It
not the
is.
best at that, but that's straight up how I look at shit. Like, I
Yeah.
know a lot of people who would be in my situation and would look at like their laptop and be like, "This frustrates me. I don't like how my laptop's a piece of shit. I'm just gonna go buy one." Period. Right? We all, Jakai, I mean, you both know one motherfucker who would
I
do
know
that.
that the name that came to
Yeah.
mind starts with an S, right?
Yes, it does. It ends with a ooter. Yeah. Yeah. Where it's like, period, I'm gonna go get this. And it's like, bro, like, what are you talking about? Like you just told me that you couldn't make your car payment. Like, that's not the important thing to do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but I mean like I'm not the best at it, right? And even the 3 times over is not a standard I hold myself to
I
because
would
I'm
argue
like,
that that's a standard most
fuck.
people in our socioeconomical status don't hold, because if we did, we would never buy
I
anything.
agree too. Three
Well,
times, three
but at the
times over
same
its value is crazy. Because that's a lot of money.
Well, but
It's
here's
a
the thing: like
smart way
rent
to
is
look
like
at it.
that. If you want to rent somewhere, that's how rent is. They
Mhm.
expect you
Sure.
to make right? So, like, I don't
Mhm.
think that what he's saying is incorrect. I just think it's
Right.
unrealistic if we want to
Yes.
buy anything that we like, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Like,
I
it's
completely agree.
just a reality. Like, those of us
Yeah.
who are down here in the lower middle class and what is slowly becoming just lower class still,
Right.
like, we don't get to have the luxury of saying we need to pay 3 times over in order to be able to afford it, because then we afford nothing, right? Like, we afford nothing.
True.
Yeah.
Well, he's saying after all your other needs are met, but at the same time, like if that was a standard, like imagine if you held yourself to that standard for like a year, what would your savings account look like?
Probably astronomical because you
Yeah,
will
I'd
have
probably
bought
doing really
nothing.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'd probably be doing pretty good I'd probably be sitting there going like,
Fuck yeah.
I didn't actually need that shit. I'm doing pretty fucking good for myself and look at me. Like now I am going to go spend something on this
I've
I mean,
taken a
open my own business or
400.
do something or, whatever the fuck else, right? Like
What will happen is I will take it of a series of $400 purchases and said, well, I don't have it 3 times over, so I'll bank it. And then I will have thousands of dollars to go, but I can get that $10,000 thing, right?
Well,
yeah,
but
like it
here's the thing too, though, right? Like, the reality of
Mhm.
that situation is like how happy, and I know, Nigel, we've discussed like what being happy in life means
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
stuff, but how happy would that year be for you, right? Like, you don't get to buy anything you want. The only thing you purchase is your needs, and that's it. Like, that's kind of depressing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I work 50
Mhm.
hours a week. Nigel, I know you work 50 to 60 hours a week. Matt, I know right now you're not working as much, but like when you were working, 50 fucking hours a week probably. So like you work that
Mhm.
Alcohol plum at Atlas Copco. Yeah, it was pretty rough. I
right.
had to quit.
So you work that much a week just to look at your
Yeah.
money and go, "Oh, I'm not allowed to spend any of this."
Yeah.
Well, it comes down to what your goals are, right? Like if my goal was to be like I want to when you're talking about a guy like Kevin Samuels, he has his own business, he pays for everything himself. It's the standard
It's
of
of a
living that he
different
wants to have,
class.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's of a
Well,
different pay class.
but I don't think he came up in that class, right? But I mean like
No,
you would
certainly
sit
not.
there and
But
say uh Jakaya, say I wanted to, I looked at Level Up Gaming and I went, you know what, man, that looks like a really awesome fucking thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to run my own fucking board game shop. I want to be able to do my own fucking thing. Like, well, yeah, like that's your goals, right? Like, I'm content with where I am and what I do. So for me, like that standard is not exactly great. But I mean, like, if it meant let's say 3 or 4 years sacrifice in that capacity to then be able to pursue the next 20 years of my dream before I retire or something or die, like that all of a sudden becomes worth it. And
Yeah,
that's how
absolutely.
he looks at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what that would be.
it's not a wrong mentality. But Chikai made a really solid point. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, when you work so hard, I put like $20 in my pocket a week just to like
Do
splurge.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was splurging. 20
yeah.
bucks a week? Like, are
Hmm.
you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Okay.
I got a monster.
Yeah. Well, and with
You
inflation,
know,
that 20 bucks a week would be like literally one monster.
would you like me to tell you my oil bill here in Massachusetts?
I'll get a half gallon of gas. I'll get a half gallon of gas and a monster, and there we go.
Thousand
That's my
dollars I
splurge for
pay.
the week.
Yep.
$1,000 in oil for my home
Jesus.
Fuck that. That's why
every
I'm
two
glad
months.
I have solar panels. Let's go.
Every 2 months.
No gracias. All right, let's
Yeah.
continue with the video.
It's almost like you're kind of living a pretentious lifestyle. So you're putting yourself in environments and places around. That's why I said the imposter thing. So, and I don't want to get too much into that because I don't know you and I don't want to imply, but I'm telling you what I feel, what I'm getting from you.
I'm realizing this is a super unflattering
The
camera
men
angle
that are
for
on
her.
your level.
Yeah,
Did you feel like you were
lighting's not great.
settling for the trucker?
No, my heart
How,
was in.
you said that, and then how long ago was that guy?
How long ago? That was 6 months ago.
6 months ago.
I'm sorry, 8 months.
But you said your longest relationship was 6 years ago. How long did that last?
That was for a year.
Ouch.
What's the longest relationship you've ever
36
had?
was only a year?
A year and
That alone tells me a lot about her. I'm 36 and my longest relationship was a year long. Ma'am, you're a bear to live with then. like that's all I can think is you are exhausting somewhere. Somehow you are truly and utterly just an exhausting human being.
You're either impossible or your standards are impossible. Like it's one or both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are like an overbearing mother that an adult guy is like, yo, I put up with this when I was a child and a teenager, but I ain't doing this as a fucking grown up. Fuck off.
Yeah, absolutely.
a half.
Okay. Sounds like you've had some counseling or some therapy.
Yeah, I've had to.
Okay. So are you
The
openly
emotional
affectionate?
abuse.
See, she turns that side a little bit like that, and all of a sudden her face becomes like half as thin, like half as fat. This is a horrible camera
I
angle for
told
her.
you, I think she's really pretty.
Yeah. Like she turned a little bit there, and like she all of a sudden became like she went from like a 5 to like a 7. I was like, what just happened? Lady, up angle. Like it's not a great shot. Like
To be fair, I
bring the
don't think
camera
she's
up a
trying
little
to
bit.
I don't think she's trying to impress Kevin Samuels. She's just looking. That's
Nah,
one thing
she's got the nice white little throw thing on. She's got her hair done. Like she's trying to look good. She's got her makeup done
I
one
just
well and stuff.
I wonder how honest she's being when she says that like she likes to enjoy dressing and looking like this all the time, right?
I know honestly, outside of, you know, like that time of the month for Kiki does that shit all. She'll curl her hair and I just look at her, I'm like, it's a Sunday. Nobody's coming over. I'm in fucking gym shorts with no underpants on. Like, what are we doing right now? Like,
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like, what I mean is maybe she's not trying to impress him. Maybe she literally she likes to look like this. She does it for herself.
Yeah,
she does it
maybe.
for whatever. You know what I mean?
Personal standards, I agree. That's
She
what I was
claims
thinking.
that that's the case. So at this point, I have no reason not to believe her.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yes, I am.
Do you express your affection in words?
Yes, I'm very articulate with emotional intelligence.
No, you're
So,
not.
of all
No, you're not.
That's also
Your
not what he
relationships.
asked, right? Like,
How many of them a man has left you?
One,
How were you in that relationship happened?
I was not any of the that right now at all.
Huh?
I was not anything that I told you right now. I was in my trauma at that time, so I was not showing my best at
But
all.
how old? I said how old? How old?
Oh,
old
how
were you?
I was. So this was
What does that even mean? I was in my trauma at that time.
well, I mean, I think the point is she said she went through therapy, so like I think she's saying that like that was before she learned and grew and got a little more fucking a hold of herself, right?
Okay. All right. I'm just so hypersensitive to that word anymore. I guess I probably am being too sensitive.
Pre therapy is basically what she
Okay.
means.
Okay.
Okay. And how many relationships have you had?
I've had 4.
So
36,
Three out of
4
the 4
relationships. Longest was a
Yes.
year. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I think he's right that it feels
well,
like she's
now,
not trying.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would say that if you've already done the work, the therapy, but there's still something amiss, and I know what I'm feeling right now, and I don't want to get into it right now, but there's something that's still askew, and what I'm getting is a little bit like you have this picture in your mind of what a relationship should be, and it'll never be that. It's like, can you become self-aware enough to recognize this is what I am. I'm not up here. I'm a if I adjust it from income, I'm an average earner. I mean, you're at Primerica right now, and I got no shade towards Primerica, but it's not like everybody becomes a vice president. People who go to Primerica are generally looking for a way out of corporate America. How long you been doing it?
2 years.
And
Well,
what
with
level, what
I'm
level are
like
you?
in network marketing, 2 years. With this company, it's been 6 months.
And what level are you at?
Regional vice president.
Are you doing financial products?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see. Well, I don't.
By the way, he keeps saying Primerica. I just looked it up. Primerica is an insurance selling company. She sells insurance.
Okay.
Don't get wife. I'm gonna tell you right now. When you said power couple, um, the kind of man who's making the kind of money, they don't want to be partners in power couples. They want cooperative wives who aren't trying to live this yuppie thing.
Yeah.
Possibly an executive wife, which is that's the closest thing to a quote unquote power couple, but I don't know how you would be in a relationship. Have you interviewed your exes?
I would like to. I honest to God.
I don't think I could possibly interview my ex.
Well, Nigel, you only really have like 2 exes to speak of: the mother of your
That's
child
true.
and your high school girlfriend. So.
That's true. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess yeah. I guess
Uh,
there were other women that I dated, but I mean, like, very, very, very briefly.
Right.
okay,
Like,
so if we're annexing
very
Well,
that, then
briefly.
we're
well,
good.
let's put it in perspective this way, right? When it comes to like people you have seriously dated, I've known you since junior high school, and I
Yeah.
know none of them except for the
Yeah.
mother of your child, your current wife, and your high school girlfriend.
True. Yeah. The rest, and I mean, like, when I say dated, I mean like we went on a couple dates.
Right.
Like
Right.
that literally. Like we went on a couple dates, had sex, and then like we're like, okay, high five. See you later.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, cool. We want nothing more to do with one another. See ya.
How about that?
Um so I
It's like
mean
a
like
one night stand that went well.
I can honestly say as far as like literal one night stands, like met and fucked and then like never interacted. I've probably had like maybe two
And
actual one night
I
stands.
had to stop at one point because burner phones were getting expensive.
You're
I'll
dumb.
put that into
You're
perspective, dude.
dumb. I hate you.
My buddy Kyle had like he saw on the table had like seven, eight
I know one of
different
your one night
phones.
stands. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
burner phones,
remember
dude.
because you were real concerned about the aftermath of that one night stand.
Ah!
How long have you and Dana been married?
Not even a year.
Okay.
They've been together for longer than that,
How
but
long
they
have you
got
been together?
married.
Almost 10 years now.
Right. Okay. So we all have very similar duration relationships.
Yes.
And you're similar age as us, right?
Yeah, Matt's.
35.
Yeah.
You're 35.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're a little older than us. So
Fuck
I
yeah.
don't know if you have because I don't know you all that well. Matt, you may have dated a little more than Nigel and I, but like
Maybe.
I also did not really date a lot prior to being with Nathan. Like I went on some dates with people. I was in love with my high school best friend, like who was a heterosexual, mind you. The same tragic story that all gay people have. Anyway,
If only I could have turned this one.
right. So, but anyway.
Oh, I was like, I don't even understand what the tragic story would be, but I get it.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
The conversion.
Well, the I'm in love with you, but you don't love me story,
Baby, come back.
But my point is that like I don't even think like not that I'm not technically married, but like 9 years this year in June. So like we all in essence settled down and got some sort of married
Yeah.
significantly earlier than this girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we don't have like but she has only as much dating experience as basically we do, right? Like one
True.
maybe like one more partner, right? But she's 36 and has similar dating experience that we had prior to our current long-term relationship. So
Yeah.
what does that say about her choices, her relationship style, her expectations, whatever, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the unfortunate thing is it puts her off. Like, we've all kind of been intuiting these things from this conversation about her, right? Like, and, I look at these things where I look at like her personality, kind of just like looking into, I'm always looking for crazy eyes, right? Um, so,
Good.
like I look at this girl and I would put these things like they're like, okay, 36, you're unmarried, you don't have a lot of like what's going on here. Like there would be things that if I were on a date with this woman and started learning more about her where I would kind of be like, what's going on here? Like what? Something's askew. Like
Well, I've dated chicks that have had those flags where it's like, A, the lack of experience, B, the no fucking idea what I want. And for me, it was like kind of an easy decision because at the time that I was just going through that shit, it was kind of like that. I'm just being, I don't want to say malicious, but it was kind of like, look, I'm just using this to be a quick thing and we're out. Here's my number. You can, whatever. And so when I learned how nothing that was there, it was like, okay.
man, Matt's cold as fuck. I at least took most
Did you
girls out
not?
on
Did
a
I
nice
not
date.
hear the girl that had a brain tumor?
True.
see, I can get down with the philosophy of like, hey, I'm just here for a short thing. So like
I
don't
didn't tell him that. I was kind of like, "Hi, here, call me," and then it was a burner phone. And it was just, oh, I lost
oh,
my number.
so you're an ice cold
My
garbage can. Never
bad.
mind. Sorry.
Oh, dude, I got out of a really stupid relationship that put me into a really weird dread where I was like, "What do I want?" Well, I'm going to be destructive as possible to figure that the fuck out, and I figured it the fuck out.
I see.
Yeah, you totally did. All right. Let's
Yeah,
continue.
not a proud moment.
But
I'm not sure if they would be open to that. I
I
think it's
mean,
more.
Why not?
are they married?
One is.
Okay, just ask them, hey, send an email. What was I like to be with? Because they can tell you. Because it's not really. There's a phenomenon that I've seen in the last several years. I call pretty professional problems. You're talking about pretty, you talk about six, adjustable six, eight, nine. So cute, pretty, beautiful, professional women who are who want relationships, but they can't maintain them. I went to Houston to talk about this issue, Chicago, and then in New York, and in LA. That's like your hot. That's where y'all live. LA, Chicago, Houston, New York City.
That's where y'all live.
Um, Emotionally unavailable. You look people. They look nice. They speak well. They make a good presentation. They'll network. You put you in a dress.
Notice that, at least from what I got right there, like look nice, emotionally unavailable, professional, articulate, can put together a good presentation, right? Like I don't know about you guys, but that just described like a guy, right? That just described like the professional, like he said in the beginning, like the Sex and the City guy,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
people have been complaining about how emotionally unavailable men like that are for shit as long as I've been alive and probably longer. So
Yeah.
And he just said like all these pretty professional single women, like he just described them in the same way that like you would describe a male. They have a lot of male traits. I found that kind of interesting. Like maybe like they're again in that kind of field where it's like we're both competing for the same role in a relationship, right? Um
and
and
it's toxic in both of them. Hot damn.
yeah, well, you need everything to balance stuff out, right? And maybe for those women, they may need to like come to terms with the fact that like, hey, you've taken over traditionally like the male role in this relationship, so maybe you need to start like going to men and being like, hey, how do you guys date? And then it'd be like, well, I mean, you'd walk up to a girl and it's like, no, 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 how do you guys find a woman? Because I'm gonna do the same. I need to do that to men, right? Like I need to learn these skills. Um, mm,
At the state, and but then away from that, it just something's amiss. Um, and what I've noticed is many women like that are afraid to fail. So you sabotage stuff. You want it to always look good. So are you one of these kind so I'm not saying you, but like women who don't like to go out of the house unless every ear is right. It has to always look good. Um, so it's not a matter of femininity training or wife training. It would really just start to, I would say, actually, I'm going to be tackling this year because so many of our Black women are in this category. Frankly, that's why I'm talking about self-awareness.
Thanks, Tyler
So many
Perry.
of our Black women are in this category: beauty, brains, business, and bonds. With the inability to make bonds, you just have a bunch of women stranded. So, yeah, stay tuned. You're not still in therapy
On
though,
that
right?
note, Nigel, real quick,
I am.
that power or that woman in power and working moms that I was talking about, who is like
Mm-hmm.
she struggles to make connections, but finally like sort of finds it with that ultrasound
X-ray
tech.
tech. Mm-hmm.
She's an African American woman.
Thanks, Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Dick.
I just think it's interesting.
I mean, a good art should represent reality in
Yeah.
some capacity, right? It makes sense. Like you have heard that for a while, like that kind of quote unquote like boss bitch mentality, right? Like and it is, I jokingly say like thanks Tyler Perry, but there are a lot of female characters in Tyler Perry movies that it's like that's who they are. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
use your bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
yeah, you're good.
Just so you know,
Um,
Nigel, not that I care too much, but we are encroaching on the 2 hour mark for the recording.
you're good. I mean, to be honest with you, at this point, he's gonna tell her a lot of like. I think we've essentially got it from her, and we've gotten what we want out of this video for the most part. I don't think we really need to continue on more. He's talking about like these are the problems that are with these communities, and I think we can kind of suss out the problems like with her. And I liked this video because I really think she responded to it very well, first of all. Um, but I've seen this woman and I have heard this complaint from other people in real life, right? Um, and I've seen this woman and I've heard these complaints from other women who have talked about it like on the internet and stuff. This seems to be a more um epidemic scale for a lot of people. And I wonder culturally, kind of that's what I'm trying to suss out really is like what is creating these things because I see this and I see these expectations that are held for men and these kind of lack of awareness from women and you combine that with like the statistics from Tinder in particular I think where they brought up that it's like well 80% of men get swiped left on so 100% of the women approximately are all competing for the same 20% of men and the 80% of men, never get any interaction whatsoever on these dating websites. And as a society we move towards more interaction with each other technologically, I I wonder if like if this is going to be a serious problem of like these women who expect these insane things out of these top 1% men, but then are completely frustrated because all those men are taken or they have absolutely no chance of getting that guy in the first place. And then both sexes end up just like dying alone with a bunch of cats, right? Like that's not good.
Yeah.
um it's worse if it's a bunch of men because a bunch of men end up going like, well, you know what? I think I'm just gonna burn the society to the ground. Like that's super bad, right?
True.
Um, I mean, I don't know. Does my logic on that sound like I'm off somewhere, or
No, I think it mostly hits home, right? Like, I think I think a lot of these like video. I think that a lot of these problems of people punching above their weight class are resulting in people who are like this woman who end up in these situations where they think that other people are the reason that they're not happy when in reality it probably has something to do with the way you are. Even if you can probably blame the other people a little bit, but like one long-term relationship in you know, fucking 18 years.
yeah, yeah. If she started dating at 18,
Yeah,
when she could more or less legally become sexually active,
right.
one long term, and that long, I would barely consider a year-long relationship a truly a long-term relationship,
Right.
if I'm being completely
Right.
honest with you.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, I mean, like, that's that's rough, right? And I wonder if, it's hard to suss out a, an endemic problem from an individual person,
Mhm.
but you know, he- Kevin Samuels even talks about how it's like, fuck man, Houston, Chicago, New York, LA, Miami, right? It's like that's where all you motherfuckers live. And in the last couple years, I've seen this phenomenon of all of you women who cannot get a man when it should be pretty fucking easy.
Right.
And like I said, my concern is that what's causing this? Like, is it just that? Because there is a whole, like, that is the incel community. Is a bunch of men who consider themselves involuntarily celibate, and they are essentially electing to go, I'm just out, right? Fuck, even me and Matt just said it, right? If for whatever reason my long term relationship with my wife ends, I'm out. I'm not going back into that pool. It just ain't fucking worth
Yeah.
But
it.
it's
And
not
like
because they're
that,
enabled, dude. It's just a choice. And so it's
yeah.
because they can't.
Mhm.
Big
Well,
difference.
yeah, and I look at that and I think like for my son, right? That I'm just like, man, what kind of advice do I give you for fucking dating? Like I don't fucking know, right? Like if Daniel were 16 right now and he were just
Oh, I
like,
got perfect dating advice. Go find yourself a couple of slam pigs, bro.
that's not dating, that's just fucking. But
That's dating. That's
and,
learning the
and
hard way what
actually,
women are like.
here's the thing. He could easily retort to me and go, "Hey, Dad, I make minimum wage and I can spend $10 a month on OnlyFans. Why even bother going to the trouble of getting a couple slam pigs?" That's a fucking problem for the world if that's the case, right? Like that's not good. Like that's an entire generation that when they hit like
What
45
your
or 50,
dad did you?
put a barrel in
My
their
dad did.
mouth.
Well,
Go get yourself a good woman and shut up.
that's really like that's the thing, right? Too like like I have emotional needs that need met. Like that's the most important thing to me in a relationship. Like
So what
sex.
you're saying is that you're fucking needy.
Sure, sex is important. Sex is important. Building a life together is important. But like I have emotional needs. Like I need you to give me attention. Like I need us to spend time together. Like those are things that I need to have a successful relationship, right?
Fucking needy.
So
Sure,
like but maybe not everyone is like that, or maybe not everyone thinks they're like that. Like, like I told you, I had
sure.
that friend who has like a high standard of women or whatever. He is also
A
the type of person,
ridiculously high
right?
standard.
He is also the type of person who has basically opted out of dating because he doesn't think that he can handle, like he's not interested in a lot of the women that he knows or whatever. And
Well, and I think with that friend in particular, I think that's totally a coping mechanism for that's his way of like shielding himself from his own insecurities. Like,
probably,
Yeah.
yeah,
absolutely, right? But I could
it's not
never be
true.
that person. Like that's the one thing about like the incel community that I guess confuses me is like being alone is like maybe that's my problem that I should see a therapist for, but like I rely partially on the emotional intimacy of a relationship to sustain me, right?
Sure.
And
Go
maybe
being a
not, and maybe not even just the one relationship, all of my relationships, right? Nigel, you
Hmm.
and I talk on the phone all the time, and like while I may not rely on you as emotionally as I do Nathan, there is a part of me that gets like dopamine and satisfaction from being able to talk to my fucking high school friend on the phone and
Yeah.
bullshit about stupid shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
there's a reason. Yeah, there's totally a reason why even if I'm playing a game like Mechanicus, that's a completely single player game, anytime I'm on and I see that Matt's on, I'm like, hey, let's start a party.
Right,
Like,
right.
yeah.
Well,
Because
we
like,
are like we're wired as people. Like people are
Yeah.
social. Like we need that
Well,
social.
yeah,
But
and
the
that's why I was
Jakaya was gonna
saying,
mention.
go ahead.
So one of Jakaya's points was, although being a piece of shit actually taught me quite a bit. My cousin, who was like a second mother to me growing up in Pennsylvania, she said something really important to me that stuck with me forever. And it was something really important. And I don't know if it applies, but it's something that I've really always considered. Is that although like I am super emotionally distant from Dana. Like again,
Mhm.
all of the shit that I'm dealing with, Dana's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Don't fucking worry about it."
It's not good,
But
by the way.
of course, it's not. But there is something about her that I ask the impossible from her.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always think about is that we love, and she said this to me, she says, we love to love and we love to be loved. That's just the nature of things, right?
Yeah.
And depending on whom you're getting it from, we love both, and that's why that works.
Yeah. It
And so I
sucks
don't
to
know if
feel
that
undesirable. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
But we also love to give that, right? That's why it's
Certainly.
gratifying to be the one to say, hey, whatever, what do you need? But please throw some of that my way, right?
Yeah.
This is how it
Yeah.
is.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting subject. That's why I kind of wanted to like this isn't generally like in our wheelhouse. We've never done anything on like relationships. But
that's
Relationships, I
because
have
that's
stories
because
to tell you.
that's because
right.
even though the three of us have mostly successful relationships, I would not call any of us any sort of relationship expert.
Oh,
No. No, yeah.
no.
Yeah, my relationship book would start with the prologue being like, if you're a single guy and you want to have money in your life, don't get married. Don't
I mean,
have kids.
I could write a book, but I don't think it'd
Yeah.
be worth reading.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It's like if you're
No.
me, this will work. If you're anyone else, I don't know. And I mean, there are things like from long-term relationships that I definitely I've had people come and ask me about relationships and advice and stuff like that in the past. And generally it's like, well, be willing to have conflict,
Yep.
right? Like that's first of all, like don't avoid conflict with your significant other. And if your significant other like shoves conflict under the rug, like that's a huge fucking red flag. If they're not willing to fight with you, like that's a fucking pro. That means they're going like, well, I'm out. Like that's not good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The reason I wanted to bring this video into Kate because I do see concerns with the generation past ours, particularly since it's so plugged in online that I feel, and then you combine that with, in my opinion, really bad messaging to women for the last like 50 years, to be completely honest with you.
Say this
Like
generation? I missed out. I'm sorry.
The one after
no,
us.
I'm saying for our children's generation, right? You're combining like all of the worst scenarios for a lot of men to be traditionally marketable to women with 50 years, in my opinion, of god awful marketing to women about what their societal expectations should be.
I think yeah, and I think part of that is again that like cultural divide that is teaching women to grow their independence and be or what I think is going to be
Yeah,
fucking interesting too is to come later on down the road. I mean, if we really, I have told Dana that women have kind of are now recently getting really the short end of the fucking stick, and I'm not just talking like as far as expectations.
sure.
Let's talk about like some of the more what should be, and I don't want to get too political, but some
This
of
is a
should like
political show.
for fuck's sake. But I mean, like with abortion and transgender shit, it's like you guys are getting like so much shit highlighted saying you don't get the fucking say. A man can be pregnant. A man can take up sports and stuff like that. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So to have to like, so what now? Women have to be more competitive, and so my concern is that it creates that
Well,
bigger,
it
bigger
lends
divide.
to what I think in a lot of that bad messaging. That main bad messaging was we, for the last 50 years, we've told women to be men,
Yeah.
but we've never
Well, not
brought
necessarily men,
up
but
the
independent.
responsibilities that come with it or the shitty parts of that side of being men,
Well,
right?
and like you pointed out earlier, we also haven't tried to take away from the responsibilities of being a woman, right?
Yeah,
It's like
it's all still there.
it's like
Yeah.
be men and women.
Yeah. Be men
Be a
and women,
woman.
and don't be upset when men are like, "Hey, fuck off! Stop stepping on my shit." Yeah, yeah. Which is really bad. I do genuinely feel concern for the generation after ours when it comes to how to navigate relationships, because our dads, maybe not necessarily for you, Jakaya, because you're in a relatively unique situation with that, but I mean, like,
Sure.
our previous our fathers from our previous generation and our mothers from our previous generation, their parents and their parents' parents, everyone like that, could essentially look at them and be like, here's what you look for in a guy, here's what you look for in a girl, this is about what should be expected.
Einstein,
And
marry
if you
a nice
go
girl,
forward, yeah,
house,
if you
good
go
job.
forward with these expectations, you should be okay and have a relatively healthy and happy relationship,
I
right?
mean, to
Yeah,
be
well,
fair, I
Whether or
received
not
a lot of that same advice. I just, ended up dating
I
men.
Yeah, I
you
was
know,
just yeah, I was just saying, like, well, and it is different for the gay community, because that's why the gay community is the gay community, and why
you
the
mean your
gay
dad
community is
didn't
so
know you were
overtly
gonna be
sexual.
gay?
Right.
Yeah, well, and that's, in my opinion, why the gay community is so overtly sexual, and why sex is so wrapped up in the gay community, because there wasn't the conditioning prior to. You guys had to go, and it's like, well, I'm like 18 now and I'm gay, so I guess I gotta figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do here. There's no book here, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, you could go back the last 4 or 5
The book for
generations,
women.
and they're gonna tell them approximately the same shit. I look at it as a father to a son who's 10, right? And I'm gonna go, and I'm looking at it like when he's 15, it's like, oh, dad, what do I do about dating? And I'm like, bro, I got no fucking clue. Like, you need to get on like some apps. You need to start knowing how to take pictures really good. I don't even know where the fuck y'all go meet bitches now, bro. Like, like,
Well,
I have
even
no
me, like,
fucking
we're in the
clue.
same generation, but, like, as a gay person, like, it's easier to meet people online. Nathan and I met on a dating app, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like, well, what do I look for in a woman? I'm like, I don't
That comes with its
look. The best
whole
I can tell
level of
you, man,
conditioning
is
because
like
now
try
you
and
have to
find
teach
someone
them about
like he.
internet safety and shit. Ugh.
yeah. Well,
Totally,
there's
yeah.
stories
I mean,
about people, like gay people, I mean, straight people too, and, all kinds of people that get murdered because they fucking hit people up on a dating
Yeah.
app and shit like that.
Yeah.
fuck,
It's just
dude. My gener like fucking a, dude.
fucked
When
up.
I was dating regularly, catfishing wasn't a thing.
Right.
I got fucking
Like,
catfish, goddammit.
I didn't want to bring it up.
I got fucking catfished,
He
motherfucker.
did. He
I.
did, and it was hard. I was sold. I thought this
That
bitch was real.
fucking
I
bitch.
spoke with her on the phone. I was like, yeah, this bitch is 100% real. Matt's gonna, we
I,
sent Matt off. We bought him dinner. We were like, he's gonna meet fucking Lily. She flew down here. Everything's cool. It's gonna be a great fucking time. Took him out to Outback Steakhouse. Got him a little fucking lit, And then I hear from Matt. I'm like, hey man, how'd the weekend go? He's like, nothing fucking happened. And he was super pissed. I was like, what?
I've never been catfished. That's one.
and the precursor to this was I dated a girl when I left for the Navy. We were smitten. She was cool. We hung out at a lot of parties up in Connecticut here, so I've known her for a little while. We got together. She was real sweet. I got deployed. She waited. This bitch couldn't wait 2 weeks before I came back from my 1 fucking year deployment. When I come back, she's nowhere to be found. I go to the bar to meet with some of my friends, and she thought it was a good idea to show up there too with a new significant other. And I'm there in my fucking peanut butters. And I'm like,
You're gonna have to give some. A lot of our people won't
NSUs,
know
and
what
I'm
that
like,
means.
NSUs,
NSUs are
just
the Navy's service uniform. It's a uniform from the military.
Got it.
yeah, it looks like the Marines, but it's black pants.
Got it.
And so I walk up and I sit and I go, huh, who's the guy? She goes, oh, well, we're kind of a thing. I said, oh, guessing she didn't tell you that we were together and then now we aren't apparently. So that was just a shit show. And then, of course, I go back to Norfolk after that deployment. Yada, yada, yada. I jump onto the dating pool again and then I get catfish. And it was a shit
Yep.
show. And I was really fucking pissed off. And then I called Dana a dyke and it's been love ever since. I really called Dana a fucking dyke. She said
He called Dana a dyke, and then, by the way, that's not the whole thing. Dana threw him through the wall of my apartment. That
That's when I loved her.
She fucking judo flipped his ass through the wall of my apartment. He came and picked me up. Where did I go? I went to the
How
airport for
much did you
some.
have to pay for that? A fucking wall?
Me and Kiki, I'm really good at lying, and so they just took it out of
I
my
said I
security
was good at
deposit.
outrun with it.
Yeah.
I felt really bad.
So I got off on that a little bit, but it was funny because
Right.
like Kiki went to go see her mom, and I went somewhere else, and like Matt picked me up from the airport. And he's like, okay, so I just want to run something past you, okay? And he
Oh
told me what
no.
happened. He told me what happened. I was like, no lie, you are so fucking lucky that I'm the first one back. Because if Kiki were the first one back, she'd fucking kill all of you. It was a good time. It was a good time.
All
But
right. Well,
anyway,
we've
yeah.
devolved into the wrap-up portion now, so let's
Yeah.
call it a day on this video.
I agree. We've gotten nowhere. We have no solutions. It's all fucked. Have fun. Have fun, future generation. You're screwed. I don't know what to tell you.
Fuckers,
That's it for
don't
us.
date anybody. Get thrown through a wall. Buy some
Go
burner
back
phones.
to the 90s.
I did.
All right, guys. This is
Anyway.
Screaming at Walls. Thanks for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day.
See ya.